All right, shalom Israel, shalom. It's me again. Let's see if we can actually hear this here. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. If anybody is holding on live, I would appreciate it if you guys can tell me. Sorry, I'm gonna have to use an echo, guys. Holding on live. I would. Give me a second. I'm testing it out. I don't want no echoes on here. So give me a second here. Okay. Okay, so it sounds like it's working. All right, let me go ahead and do the video again. I apologize, brethren. I'm not sure what. Well, it is what it is, man. All right, let me get the video real quick. Let's see. Here we go. Give me a second. Let me go to the channel. Let me go here. Give me a second, brethren. I'm almost there. Again, I'm doing a redo, my old video, okay? It's a redo of old video. But it's an important one because, well, a lot of times we pass up on videos that could definitely make a difference in our understanding. Okay, so I'm not gonna play the whole part. I'm just gonna start where we left off last time. I'm gonna start again at the beginning without the music part. Second, there we go. All right, let's see if it plays. Oh, boy.
For some reason, man, I catch the little things in
All right, here we go.
It's a quote from John Hendrick Clark. Okay, that's an extremely important statement from this gentleman, and it goes in hand with my class. The class is called "The Caucasity of the Black Race." Ah, I said it. The Caucasity of the Black Race, and y'all gonna know exactly what I mean after today's class. Okay, because truth is never easy. It's never easy to digest, nor is it. How can I say this, man? I know that we all want salvation, right? We all want salvation. I don't care what nationality or you are. We all want salvation. We all want to get a chance to make it. We all do. I get it. But today, this is class time now. Okay? So I need all you guys to put your emotions, and you girl and you sisters too, or so-called, to put your emotions to the side and please use common sense in order to understand what I'm about to do. Okay? I'm gonna go through some diligent dissection of historical information, actual factual data, in order to it to make sense, while at the same time bringing out some scriptures. Okay, so Lord willing, this is an edifying class for all you real Israelites. Okay, and again, the caucasity of the Black Negro race, however you want to take it. All right, if it's offensive, oh well. Caucasity, I guess I found out what it means. It's a slang term used to make fun of behaviors perceived to be stereotypically white, or to call out what seems to be particularly bold instance of white privilege or racism. How funny. So without further delay, let's begin, right? Here we go. Let's go first of all to this one real quick. John chapter 7, verse 38. Beautiful verse. Watch what it reads. It says, John chapter 7, verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scriptures had said, believeth on me, as the scriptures have said. You keep that in mind when it's written and or read, right? Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. You know what that living water is? truth. That's living water. Okay. Now, why am I bringing this up? Okay. I'm bringing this up because let me see if this is it. I'll start off with this. Since I came into the truth, or even in history, in schools, this is what the so-called white man taught us, right? Facts about the slave trade and slavery. By the way, I'm going to go pretty fast because I want to squeeze all of this information in 2 hours, okay? So I'm not going to necessarily read everything. I'm just going to point stuff out, and I'm not going to call anything. Y'all need to just take notes. All the material, I have it. If you guys really want me to give it to you, just reach out. I will give it to you. Anyhow, over the period of Atlantic slave trade, from approximately 1526 to 1867, some 12 million captured men, women, and children were put on ships in Africa, okay? We know the story. This isn't nothing new. We know the story, right? We know the story. It's nothing new. I'm going to read this to you guys, right? It says, and I'm sure that you guys are going to, as soon as I read this, it's going to only relate to a particular type of person. I'm telling you right now because we're conditioned to think this way. They came as slaves, vast human cargo transported to all British ships bound for Americas. They were shipped by hundreds of thousands and included men, women, and even the youngest children. Whenever they rebelled or even disobeyed an order, they were punished in the harshest way. Slave owners would hang their human property by their hands and set their hands on feet on fire as one form of punishment. They would burn alive. They were burned alive and had their heads placed on spikes in the marketplace as a warning to all other captives. Now remember this statement, okay? Remember what this says. They were burned alive and had their heads placed on spikes. All right. So if it comes to mind, you think of the so-called white man, because that's what we've been taught, right? This is what we've been taught. Black people in late 18th century, blah, 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 right? First ships, watch this. In October 1796, ships from a Caribbean carrying over 2,000 blacks and mixed-race prisoners of war docked at Portsmouth Harbor, okay? Soon almost all of them were imprisoned, supposedly, all right? Now, I mean that, okay? Y'all going to find out why. It says servants and slaves, independent slaves. It says here, Ignacio, one of the few black people in Britain in the late 18th century who lived independent lives. Born on a slave ship, he became a composer and literary celebrity, I guess. It says here, one of the few black people in Britain. Okay, remember that. But you know what? This has been taught. This is what we've been taught. So far, this is nothing new, right? Carried off from Africa, right? People were distributed everywhere. Obviously, when you think of slavery, our ships, let's be frank, man. You don't think of Hispanics, so-called. That's not what the media says. That's not the propaganda. And I mean, again, you know what? I think, and I'm going to say this, man. Society has conditioned us to think a certain way. So let me continue. All right. Let me do this. I'm going to show you guys something. All right. We were taught this too. We were taught that there were certain men that fought for the rights of people of color. That's what we were taught. Okay, that's exactly what we were taught. Give me a second. I'm gonna bring out a picture here real quick. Remember this picture? We were taught this, right? Extract from the constructed Constitution of America. They said that these men were at one point slaves, right? The distinguished members of the convention. This is what they told us. Every single one of these guys was a slave at one point. Look at that guy. All right? Every single one of you. That's what we were told. We were also told this. All right? Ain't this true? That's the chart, right? We were told this. And again, let me go ahead and do this. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles and make zero claim that it belongs to Bible Chronicles, okay? This is only for educational purposes. But I'm just going to share you with y'all. This is what I learned. I'm not, this is what I learned. Watch. Let me move this real quick.
Septimius Severus ruled. Black people began to rule the Roman Empire. That's why for 193 AD is the time period. Then 1453.
Pay attention, okay? Pay attention to what he's saying.
The fall of Constantinople by the Ottoman Turks. That's when the Europeans began to go up. That's when the Europeans began to come back in power, the Caucasians, because what? They dwelt in an area called the Caucasus Mountains. So remember this. Rome, 193 AD, they come back in power in 1453.
Let me fast forward some pieces, all right?
These books, you have 10 minutes. Okay. We're gonna go to the book called the Icon, page 126. Add the right with six. That's all right. Right here, you're gonna see dark images of
What I learned.
all, and that's what I'm gonna show you in all these books. I'm gonna go to page this. I'm gonna paint dark, but notice around him they painted in what? A lighter image. You see it? Yeah. This book right here, because a lot of times, Charlotte in history, we always learn when we see people like Septimius Severus, Charlemagne, the Anglo-Saxons, we always see them as these were great, famous Caucasian men. When these were really black men that ruled. Rome, the Byzantine Empire,
Remember that.
were ruled by black men. Class.
Listen, there's a scripture, and I'm not going to bring it out for the sake of time. There's a scripture that says that every single word will be written. And every single word can damn you, right? When you start misleading the people.
Why? Oh, he was high.
Oh, by the way, a brother of mine, all praises beloved, Jose, he's going to provide me with some documentation proving that they were not actually painting it white. They were painting it back to brown, I guess.
These images. When I went
let's continue.
to Rome and the Vatican, and y'all saw the 16th chapel, oh, he was hired to paint biblical characters. The Vatican.
Hey, I want to point something out. Does this guy look any different than this guy other than skin tone? Just saying, because apparently they're kind of like expressing the same thing. Look at their fingers, right? Anyways, keep going.
Chapel would think that they were.
Here's another part.
Our forefathers remember,
Right?
they painted him as that image. The history of color. Renaissance. So now, what color?
Here's another part. And forgive me, brothers, if I'm doing this. I just want to squeeze as much as I can in these 2 hours. That's my limit.
Black robe icon. When you're walking through, you see.
You get the point. You get the point. Okay, here goes.
King Henry VIII. King Henry VIII. If you type it on Wikipedia, you're gonna see a Caucasian man. That's what you're gonna see, Caucasian man. This is Henry VIII. He's a black.
Remember those faces. We're gonna come back to those faces. Okay. It says Blackamoor, agent of what? Between 3 Blackamoors had race. Sable. Those. Now they said that these Blackamoor or these Moors were Israelites. Okay, remember that. They said that they were Israelites. That they are those are our people. That they conquered Europe. They haven't used the scripture to prove it, but
Black man. Famous king. Black man. But you see them as Caucasian men. Guess who this is in the middle? Queen Elizabeth I. She's a black woman. This is Queen Elizabeth I. What happened? 1453. Whitewashed all in.
And I'm glad you said that because we're gonna prove that.
That's what happened.
Or what that means.
They whitewashed history. So pass that around.
By the way, a lot of these so-called educated men went to college.
Pass that around.
I didn't even finish high school.
So,
but all praise to the Most High, man. I have an excellent career.
Now we're gonna read.
It takes care of my family.
So for my they didn't finish.
But I just want to make something clear. After heavy suffering, okay? It only happened because the Most High turned my life around with the scriptures.
Page 116. Guess who this is? Spartacus. Spartacus. This is found in Tel Aviv, 1954. He's a black man. But why do we always see him as Caucasian men? Whitewashing. That's why. On page 77.
Remember, he says whitewashing. Basically, the white man did it all, right? Keep going. Anyways, look, I think we get the point here. I don't want to waste too much time on these guys. What else? Let's see, what else? I got something else listed here.
and glory due
Oh yeah, that's right.
to
So IOIC teaches that, right? These guys too, GMS.
Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh.
Oh, pay attention to what he says. This is awesome. That's not the point of why I'm bringing this up, but pay attention to what he says, right? Regarding heathen.
Shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. To the Israelite foreigners scattered throughout the four
Listen to that.
corners of the earth who may look like the heathen nations.
Who may look like the heathen nation, okay?
And to the very few sisters that listen and learn to you, shalom.
Boom.
Two quick scriptures.
See? That's what they taught. Okay? That's what they taught. And what else? Let's see. Just confirm. I think this is pretty much the same topic. Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah, they rule Europe. Yeah, we know that. Okay. We were taught that. But if you don't know any better, obviously you're gonna believe it, right? Like I said, man, I wasn't into school. I didn't have any history knowledge or anything like that. Once I came into the truth, all of that changed. All because of the Most High. Okay. Anyhow, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 29. Let's read that. It says, "The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law." Now, keep in mind, by the way, I just want to see this. I'm used to reading King James, but I can read other versions. But for the sake of, because I'm used to it, I'm reading it. Okay, you guys are more than welcome to read any translation as long as it actually translates the proper wording. I would always suggest to have a few. I'll tell you right off topic. You got the King James Bible. I got great. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me just continue, man. I don't want to waste time. So anyhow, again, Deuteronomy 29, 29. Let's keep going, okay? All right, that's right. Let me show you guys this real quick. And it was kind of weird to me, right? Because I honestly didn't know that it was in there. I got this app called Webster's Dictionary, right? From 1828. I think it cost me like $5 forever. And it was. I've never bothered looking up this word, but during this class, the Spirit, the Most High put the Spirit upon me to do it. Watch what it says. Swarthy. All right. It says, being of a dark hue or dusky complexion, tawny. In warm climates, the complexion of men is universally swarthy or black. So you would think, like, Caribbean Islands, you know what I mean? South America, whatever. No! It says the Moors, Spaniards, and Italians are more swarthy than the French, Germans, and English. What? You mean to tell me that, like they said, well, I guess, yeah, they're confirming that there were black folks up in Europe. All right, that's what they said. Okay, so let's find out who these people are. I got this book called The War of the Old. You guys can look it up, okay? I want to point this out first of all. Here you read Danes, okay? So like the Danes is basically people that are in the Danish area. Look, then the foreigners of Alclad or Dublin, which is an island, right? And the men of Connaught attacked each other with considerable loss on both sides. Of the Connaught 100 only escaped. Of the Danes of Dublin, but 20. The Danes were pursued to Dugball Bridge in Dublin. All right. The last one side was Dane was there with the slain. All right. So let me see if I can find the one I'm looking for. No, that's not it. Give me a second. Look at this. I read about it. It says the Norwegians or white Gentiles are victorious, and the Danes abandoned their ships. The Danish general Horn. Now I wonder what they call these guys, right? White. So let's keep going. So what am I looking for? Actually, you know what? Let's try this word. Watch. Look at this. All right. So it says here, fair Gentiles and black Gentiles, the former being apparently under the command of Barith. It says here, the MS L adds that Berith was lame even after from this wound, and that the black Gentiles after this, meaning apparently in consequence. Okay, watch what it says here. A battle of the Picts with the black foreigners. Okay, remember that it says here. Let me magnify this real quick. See the foreigners, great slaughter. Okay, watch this. They are elsewhere distinguished with white or fair hair and black. Okay, so it's distinguishing these people. Look, watch this. The two nations are presented as hostile to each other. Other battles between them not frequently took place, but it is to be regretted that our author does not always very clearly distinguish between them in his description of their devastation in Ireland. Okay, we cannot even be sure that the name Dane is not sometimes given to the Norwegians. Okay, so watch this. It says dark. Thus, the Danes are called black Gentile Danars. All right, so far we're proving that IUIC and GMS and all these aboriginals are correct so far, right? Okay, let's continue. I think I've proven that point. Matter of fact, I'll do it more. Let me show you a little bit more because I don't want people to think, oh, yeah, he's running for proof. Nah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Watch. Black Gentiles and Nard. This calls of black pagans. Black pagans. Oh, the black pagans first came to island of Britain from Denmark and made grave ravage in England. Here, let me magnify. This isn't important here. I read that earlier. It says here, it says, and made great ravages in England. Afterwards, they entered Glamorgan, and they killed and burnt much. But at last, the Cymry conquered them, driving them into the sea. So you see them fighting back. Let's see, the party of the black pagans, they call them, right? All right, let's continue. How to proceed. Gentile Danes are considered what? Black. See that? With the Fingals or white Gentiles. Fingals, maybe like Finland. Look at that. Fair Gentiles, black Gentiles, blah, blah, blah. Black Gentiles are Dane. Look at this. White Gentiles who had established themselves in Ireland before the coming of the black Gentiles or Danes. Let me read it up a little bit. It says they are in fact the exploit of earlier party of the clan Ivar, who had settled in Dublin and were in alliance with Siarbhal, son of Dougal, chieftain of Ossory and king of Dublin. To make this clear, it will be necessary to call to mind some particulars of the history of the Danes of Dublin, the Danes of Ireland. So now we're seeing that these Danes were black in Ireland, confirmed. White Gentiles who had established themselves in Ireland before the coming of the black Gentiles, right? So I guess these guys took over. There it goes again. Look, the year 892. Okay, but it is remarkable that the annals of Ulster at this year 892 and 803, which is the fourth year after 888, mentions a victory by the Saxons over the black Gentiles. Okay, so the Saxons are fighting back. Or the black. You see that word dub? That word dub means black to them. Black. I think we get the point. Okay. Let's continue. Let's see what we got. Oh, watch this real quick. I almost forgot about this. I'm glad I wrote it down. Let me show you guys something real quick. Okay. Page 57. Watch what it reads. Okay. This is from Riddles of Prehistoric Times. It reads here. The Iberians in ancient times inhabited the western and southern part of Europe, the northern part of Africa. In fact, all parts reach from Mediterranean Sea. Okay, you see that here. All right, so now it says here, the Basque in Spain and France, the little dark Welshmen, the Scots and black Celts. Remember that, black Celts, the Celtics, okay, like the game, like the team, right? Those guys were black to the west of the Shannon Rivers in Ireland, okay, as well as the same king of men, as well as the same kind of men in Britain and Aquitaine in France, all right? And Berbers of Africa are probably the remnant of the race, okay? So again, that's from Riddles of Prehistoric Times, Here's another one. Again, I'm going fast because I want to squeeze all this information in. I'm trying to prove a point, brothers. Let's go to page 125. And it reads, that's the complexion part, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Watch this. New phase of the matter. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, here it goes. Then in 1865 came the monumental work of Davis and Thurman in Crania Britannica, which added proof that a large part of the Celtic-speaking population of the British Isles, particularly the Welsh, were equally short of dark complexion. Okay. See that's an example of what the future social complexions of Europe is largely dependent upon. Let's see. It would be interesting at times to follow out the intellectual difference between these three races, which we have described. Okay. Let me continue. I can read this book later. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of information in this. Let's see. On the calcareous plains, the people were taller, of light complexion, with blue or grayish blue eyes. So you brothers that look like that, y'all better check your DNA. With blue or grayish blue eyes, dark complexion or light complexion, right? And having fine teeth. The upland areas of the granitic formation, the people were stunt, meaning short, dark in complexion, with very poor teeth. All right. So you guys are just, because you're basically saying you're correct. I'm not denying what you're saying right now. So far, you guys are correct. Oh shoot! I almost forgot. What am I doing? Hold on. Sorry, man. All right, let me go to page 64. Okay. Page 64. Hold on. Okay, here it goes. Page 64, and I am looking for. Let me magnify this. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Watch this real quick. Let me see if I can look for it. Okay, I think, let me see. Secondly, some observers right here. Some observers like Bidault rely primarily upon the color of the hair. Other places greater reliance upon the tint of the iris, as the case of the anthropologic committee. It is indeed certain that bruteness is not equally persistent in the two. Dark traits seem to reappear with greater consistency in the hair, while a remote blonde cross more often leaves these traces in the eyes. Okay, so this is just giving you characteristics of what these people look like. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to page 176 now. There it goes. See? Bones strongly developed, the complexion very brown, the hair very dark. Okay? Again, we're just solidifying what you guys are saying. So far, you are correct. Let's go to page 23. This is the family names. You guys can see that name right there. Okay? Page 23. Give me a second. This is just to prove the names, what they mean. Okay? They have dictionaries just like us. Watch this. Geber, originally Dueber, from Dubba, black, a man. A dark complected man. Dublin, right? Ireland, black. Look, black. Black. Chairman, black, a black person. All right. Just wanted to show you guys that. Watch this real quick. Show you this real quick, guys. That's what it says here. According to this is from the history of Ireland. Okay. According to the most trustworthy of English records, it was in the year 787 that most formidable pirates of the north of Europe, known by the general name of Danes, black people, made for the first time their appearance upon the coastals of Britain. Black people were living in Britain. These expeditions were consisted but of 3 ships. How familiar? 3 ships, huh? Had been most probably sent as certain to localities and resources of this region to see how far they held forth temptation to the invaders and the spoilers. Yeah, this sounds so ironic. It would appear that report made by this party. Right. Anyways, that's all I'm really wanting to show you guys. You guys can read that book later on. Let's see, page 53. Let me look for it. I'll put it down. I don't know why. It's got to be a reason. Oh, my bad. I usually know these things, like where I put this thing. But today, there's a lot. And again, you guys can always pause. This is recorded, right? So, no need for me to speed up. We're going to go to page 53. Watch what it reads, okay? And it says, the most probable, let's see where you're at. What's 53? Oh, 52. 53. Where are you at? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Whoa. That's crazy. Let's see if I can find it here. Wow, that's a trick. I had it already set. Dang, that's not the page. Give me a second, guys. It looks like it's losing 54, right? 55. And that's at 52. 50. Oh no, that's 53. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's on the bottom, maybe. The most probable. Let's see. Many cases. Anyways, it's a lot of information in here, guys. My apologies. I'm not sure why that's in there, but I have been having some issues for some reason when I'm putting this class together. But I'm not surprised. All right, let's go to the Scottish nation and surnames, families, right? Again, we're just reestablishing what they're saying. You got to do your own research. You got to do it. You got to find out what they're saying, right? If they're saying that these are our people, so I went and looked. I went and looked and saw and wanted to see if what they're saying is right. Remember the Thessalonians in Thessalonica, right? I think so. That's what they're talking about. They were more willing to listen and actually what? Dissect the word. I'm just showing you guys one more thing. That's it, man. I'm going to move on from this real quick. All right. It's just looking at the last names. I want you guys to pay attention to these things. There's a lot of duff, right? See these crests? We'll get into it later. But these have a meaning, guys. All of this stuff here has a meaning. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, let me continue. Also, these names, this dictionary is called family names from the Irish, Anglo-Saxon, Scottish, Nordish. Don't think of white people when you read this. This is not white people. These are all mostly, if not all, black people. Okay? So-called black man. This is him. The Irish, the Anglo, the Norwegians, the Scottish. You can see the names: Deaver, Devlin. You can just throw it in there. It's basically, y'all can check it out. Deaver, Devlin, Dougal, Dub, Dunbar. It all means black. It all means black, okay? All right. I also found this right here. It's a history of Ireland. Watch what it actually says again. But I find it very interesting. Watch this. It says, page 18. The religion of the Celts brought with them to this island was the same. We may take for granted with that which their kindred tribes introduced into Spain, Britain, and Gaul, that corruption of the primitive methods of adoration into which the Canaanites early elapsed by converting into idols the rude stones and pillars set up by their fathers, but as sacred memorials, and transferring to emanate symbols of the deity, the veneration due only to himself. I can continue reading this. This is a heavy book when you actually see what he's talking about, right? Watch this real quick. So these guys, I guess they were also considered the Druids. You know what I'm saying? Right? And y'all have heard about them. Let's see. The name of Langbert, or bloody hand, affixed by the tradition of the Druids, who has lived enchanted, it is sought for ages. For ages, man. The Druids, right? The Druids are where? Who are the Druids? Remember, keep that in mind. The so-called black man, right? The so-called black men of Europe. They're Druids. If you're gonna claim that this is who you are, you got to take both. You can't just you can't pick and choose. You know what I'm saying? That's not possible. You cannot pick and choose. Let me show you something real quick. Let me erase this. Let me read this. Hold on. Where are you at? Where's the table of content? I'm looking for you. Give me a second, guys. I think it would have been here. Oh, there it goes. I think I know. Watch this. Okay, so these Irish black men, among various other monuments of solar worship through Ireland, maybe notice the remains of Cromlech. You could see several, right? The moon has natural shared with the worship, right? Irish bogs are supposed to be connected with the lunar worship, the worship of fire, right? Baal. You can see this. A sacred fire is supposed to descend into the Holy Scripture. A similar relic of the Oriental paganism exists also in Jerusalem, where at the time of Easter, a sacred fire is supposed to descend into the Holy Scripture. With the worship of fire, the water, you guys can continue reading this, right? So you so-called black man of European descent, of who you say that they're your people, y'all were either Canaanites so far or doing the things of Canaan, okay? But you said you had the Bible. You showed us pictures. So, these people sacrifice children, right? That's what it seems like. Let me see. Wow. Oh, watch this. That's right. Look at this. The Carthaginians are known to have paid to Saturn in sacrificing to him their firstborn children was by the Irish offered to their chief idols. This is the so-called black man that you guys are showing us. This is you guys. Okay. There may be traded, indeed, in the religious remains of Irish and marks of three distinct stages of superstition, namely the first rule. So these so-called black men of Europe, they basically what? They burn their children, firstborns, right? Oh, it says here. Look, watch this. This is interesting. And the natural bent of the mind. Hold on, let me start right here. Was such his view of his now for the first time controverted mystery. In stating, however, as he is said to have done, that the sacrament of the Eucharist is not the true body or the true blood. He might have had references solely to the doctrine put forth then recently by Caucasity, who maintained that the body present in the Eucharist was the same carnal and palpable body which was born of the Virgin, which suffered on the cross. The Virgin, okay, suffered on the cross and rose from the dead, whereas the belief of the Catholic Church on this point of doctrine has always been that the body of Christ is under the symbol, not cooperatively or carnally, but in spiritual matters. So as you can see, like that black Virgin Mary, that's what they're showing so far. Y'all got to take it. Hey, you got to take the good with the bad if you're saying this is who you are. All of these known and acknowledged features of the ancient Celtic worship of that superstition which spread whenever the first races of men dispersed themselves. We're going to touch on that later. They remain to this day undoubted traces and testimonies, not only in the traditions and records of Ireland, but in those speaking monuments of antiquity which are still scattered over the hills. There may be trace indeed of the religious reigns of the Irish, namely the first rude ritual, which their Celtic, whatever, you guys can read that. It says here, till the arrival of St. Patrick, they sacrificed the firstborn every species on the deity. Whew, man. I mean, shit, even this guy agrees. Excuse my language. Wait, hold up. Okay, so you don't want to play it? All right. See, told you guys, there's always something funny going on. Maybe they don't want this truth to come out. I don't know, man. I don't like to believe that. The Most High. If the truth comes out, it'll come out. If it don't, it's because of the Most High. All right, these guys agree.
Any of those.
And so far from what I'm reading, I agree. Look, listen. When you look at the Canaanites as a nation of people, right, and you read about their history, regardless of who they are a powerful nation. They're an innovative nation. They're extremely intelligent. They're extremely powerful. They're navigators. These guys are not incorrect in those aspects, okay? The Most High obviously blessed them with those things. You cannot be thinking that because Deuteronomy 7 and 6, all of a sudden that means Israel is all better than everybody. You guys got it all wrong. It's not carnal. Because if you read Deuteronomy 4 and 38 or Deuteronomy 7, it literally tells you that he's going to push these nations that are mightier than Israel. So Israel wasn't mighty. And I've done the homework where I know for a fact we were not. And I'm not offended by it. I'm going to get carnal real quick. When I was young, I was a street fighter and I loved it. I got down with everybody, man. Any nationality you could think of, okay? The only time I got beat up was when I got jumped. And that was 3 dudes, way bigger than me. So I'm not saying these particular things because I feel inferior. Not at all, man. Give props to whoever it is, bro, because y'all keeping it real. I like to keep things real. I'm not favoring anybody, bro. I'm going to keep it real 100, okay? So watch. These guys have a point. Look. And again, please, all for educational purposes. So you Canaanites, I guess you guys consider yourselves that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Who early on helped to formulate what is modern day Christianity in Greece and Rome were also African. When you look at Christianity, you're dealing with the almond priesthood that's coming directly out of ancient Kemet.
They said that's an Israelite, that woman.
You're dealing with the rites and rituals of Osiris.
And remember, they said that the Christianity, the white man brought that to the so-called blacks and Hispanics.
Passions of Osiris. The idea of the resurrection of the dead and his son coming forward, Heru, as his living testament to his life. Aset, who the Greeks call Isis, is the essence of who Mary is. Nebutet, who is her sister, is who Mary Magdalene is. So that when you look at Christianity,
he's not lying, guys. I looked this up, but that's not my class today, okay? You guys got to look this stuff up yourselves. We need to stop being lied to, man. I'm telling you. Look, I've lost sleep. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I've lost sleep for days. Something within my spirit, man. The Most High has just been moving me. I haven't been able to sleep. I've been studying. I've been preaching. I mean, literally, man, I'm not lying to you guys. This is a crazy, crazy prophecy, whatever you guys want to say. Look, I'm either a man of wickedness or a prophet of truth. One of the two.
Christianity, I mean, even when you look at the word Christian.
And I'm risking my spirit, my life. Because again, this is what's compelling me. I'm not making this stuff up. Nobody's teaching me these things. All I'm doing is studying. And the Most High, all praises to him, is revealing these things.
Or Karas. You're dealing with Kares. Ka means spirit and rest means to rise. The Romans learned the Passion of Osiris through the Greek. And the Greeks learned it through the Kemites or the Africans from Egypt.
And we know that because we were taught in IUIC, we were taught in GMS, we were taught HPK, we were taught in the Sakari, whatever it was when Cap says that, they said what? This right here.
So, and the Greeks learned it through the Kemites or the
We did know that. They said that, yeah, the so-called white man learned it from the Egyptians, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, let's keep going.
Africans from Egypt. So that it was just a retelling of the same story, superimposing things that they thought they knew. And that becomes what we today call.
And obviously, man, let's go to that real quick because it makes perfect sense to bring it out now, right? The Most High told us about this, told us about why we shouldn't be doing what the Canaanites do. Deuteronomy 12:29, watch what it reads, okay? It says, when the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeeded them, and dwelleth in their land. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before thee. And that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination of the Lord which he hated, have they, meaning the Canaanites, done unto gods. For even their sons and their daughters have they burnt in the fire to the gods. And we see now that the Canaanites have traveled everywhere and took these particular practices to where? To England, right? I'm not lying. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm reading it, okay? Give me a second real quick. Sorry. Okay. So, sorry, it was just I got an important text. Anyways, that being said, you guys got to consider that, okay? So remember, the Most High doesn't like that, and I guess the Most High might have known. I don't know. You know, he might have known what the spirit of Canaan would have been. Obviously, what was the first sin? A sexual sin, right? He looked at his father. God knows what else he might have done. Scriptures don't get detailed. You know, excellent. And anyways, another thing I found is this here. This is called Royal Books of Crest. I highly suggest that you guys get it, download it. Maybe after this class, I'll take it off. You know, people say that all the time, so I don't know, honestly. But the point of me bringing this up is because we obviously know that the so-called black man was ruling Europe, Britain, Ireland, right? They had dominion over all that continent, India and Australia. So these guys are basically what? Keeping track of the derived from best authorities and family records. So it's kind of like a family, not a kind of, it's a family crest. So this book shows you family crest, pictures of different things, okay? Just want to show you guys that. We'll touch on it later too, okay? It's a picture. There's a book on pictures and a book on names. It identifies them. And I'll show you guys later on because this is a point. Let's see. Now, the question is, what the hell were they doing up there anyways, right? I mean, if there was nothing to do up in Europe, well, technically, they had an idea. Something was up there. Watch this. This is from WilliamRowland.com, right? Just basic information. You guys can look this up elsewhere too. It says the existence of tin in Britain can be traced back to 2000 BC along the tin trade developing in the Mediterranean at that time. Tin mining in Cornwall, however, did not begin until approximately 1800. Okay, so it looks like these Canaanites were up there, you know, dealing with tin, right? And it actually shows what? Where's the tin? Where's the tin? Don't forget it. The tin is in Britain. Okay. Watch this real quick. This is gonna blow your minds. Well, I mean, it blew my mind, to be honest. It reads, this is from the history of England, raping the Traumas. You guys can get that. Look back at the video. Watch what it is. Page, I don't know, man. What page is it? Page 4. You know, introduction page. It says here, I'm going to start right here, okay? It says, as well situated for trades as the Britons were, we don't find they had any large vessels or ventured to sea beyond the coast of Gaul, okay? So hear that? You hear that? Their chief commerce was the Phoenician merchants who, after the discovery of the islands, exported every year great quantities of tin, which they drove a very painful trade with distant nations. But notwithstanding all their care to conceal the fountainhead, the Greeks discovered it at length, and it came in trade. And as you know how it happens when people start, kind of like the drug wars, man. You know what I mean? It's no different. You find something valuable, you're gonna fight for it. Here's another point, just to show you guys here. Metal mining industry, United Kingdom, right? So as you can see that there is technically metal mining involved, okay? There's all kinds of metals, right? Let me see if I can find it. Let's see, because I put it in there for a reason. There it goes right here. It says here, an industrial level started well before the Industrial Revolution. The copper from these prehistoric mines was mixed with tin extracted in Cornwall, all right? So that's what the Phoenicians were doing up there, extracting tin. So obviously the mining part is very important for them. Watch this. Later, lead and copper extracted the Romans to Britain. The Romans introduced iron tools and used local slaves to mine galena. All right, so you can see that here. That it's pretty much what a place of minerals, right? These particular things. And the one thing about tin is that if you actually burn it, or it is one of the hardest metals to ever deal with, honestly. It's harder than, I think, titanium. I don't know, honestly. I'm not an expert on it. But I'm showing you guys, right? You guys can look this stuff up. Look. Watch, this is the Carthaginian supremacy. Watch this. Here it goes right here. You see that? Look, watch this. Trade. Ancient sources agree that Carthage had become perhaps the richest city in the world, though through its trade. The Bible talks about that. There could be no doubt that most profitable trade was inherited from the Phoenicians in the Western Mediterranean, in which tin, silver, gold, and iron were obtained. Okay? Extracting recognitions and stuff like that. Again, these brothers concur. And what that means is they agree. It's not a fancy word, guys. It just sounds cool. You know what I'm saying? Here goes another one. Let's watch video number 1.
There is only one.
Listen, guys, I'm gonna play this. By the way, forgive me. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, but again, please, YouTube. This is only for exercise, educational, and critique purposes. Okay, these guys are actually right. I'm not disagreeing with you guys at all. You guys are 100% correct. All right, I'm gonna let it play.
There is only one race on the planet, and that is the human race. And because of biological climatology, this race was born, nurtured, sustained, civilized, educated in Africa. And Dr. Clark teaches us that after they got their show together, then they took it on the road.
The origin of the name Europe comes from a Phoenician goddess named Europa. So the origin of the name Europe has an African origin, because the Phoenicians, we're still dealing with black African people, the Canaanites and all that. When we talk about Phoenicians, we're still talking about black folks.
The first Europeans were a group of Africans called Grimaldi, who had migrated from Africa to Europe between 40 and 60,000 years ago. And in the process of evolution, many of them lost the Africoid genotype and phenotypical features, and then went on to look more European-esque. You even see in pre-racist Europe, Africans and Europeans living side by side. In fact, a lot of European families have an African background that they don't like to acknowledge.
And he's correct. We're gonna find out too. Okay. So, sorry, I ran over here, man. I had to run to the bathroom. Let's see. Now, anyhow, let me get my thoughts back. Oh, whew. I'm glad I came in time. So far, we've proven that these kings in Europe, they are definitely there. They were there. We've also so far have seen that that area has basically been conquered by the so-called black race, right? And that they also brought a lot of their traditions, which has a lot of influence of Canaan, which at the end of the day seems like it's Canaanites, right? I mean, obviously, it speaks for themselves. But again, that's what we're being taught. This is, like you're reading. I'm not searching anything. I'm reading for what it says, right? And again, if this information is out, why are we still being told these things? It's the same video. It's the same video, guys. Like, why are we still being told these things? Are they not aware? Are they not willing to listen? Does history not matter? Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. The white man made it up, right? Is that what it is? We keep seeing that often, and then we also keep seeing this. Watch this. At every instant, man. Again, YouTube, this is only for educational purposes. Please, this is on the content. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles and makes zero claim that it belongs to Bible Chronicles. This falls under Title 17 of the United States Copyright Law. Okay? Thank you. That's all I'm doing. Please, forgive me. Do not block me. Hold on a second, guys. We get this a lot, man. Listen, we've been this is not new, right? We've been told these things. And as people, at least I could tell you, as being a so-called Hispanic, there is a different essence, at least I could say for us people. We hate to see people in pain. Just the true Hebrews, I'm gonna call y'all, we hate to see people in pain. I never could imagine doing something like that to somebody. So because of the conditioning, right, we agree to this.
I understand you think you are defending the plight of the black man. Or yes, in your case, the black woman. But we are doing a disservice to the argument, much less your people, by conflating race with basic common sense.
I would say this. The disenfranchisement of black people in America is by design written into the actual DNA of this country. Your argument, however flawed, has been successfully promoted and propagated through repetition. We hear it over and over again. But I'm here to tell you that this vicious cycle of inequity will soon be broken.
Okay. So now I would have been like, yeah, white man. Yeah, you tell the sister. He deserves it. That bastard, after everything he did to our people, right? After everything he did to our people. You damn right I'm going to sit behind her and say, yeah, that's my people, man. That's an Israelite girl right there. Yeah. Right? Because we've been conditioned. Yeah, this right here, right? In August 1619, a ship appeared on this horizon near the Point Comfort. You guys have heard of that whole critical race theory, right?
The legacy of slavery, and
we're also hearing this too. You know what I'm saying? And again, if I don't know any better, and all I've been conditioned is to believe this, the system has taught me this, the books have taught me this, the Hebrew Israelites have taught, the black Hebrew Israelites have taught me this. I've seen my people suffer. I've experienced it emotionally. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, 7, 8 of us. I've lived that. I was one time illegal. I've done all that, man. We lived in the hood. From 1990 to 1996, Oceanside was the worst hood in the world. I mean, I don't know about the world, but Oceanside Posola is where I live. It was the worst hood. That's where I grew up, man. That's why it bothers me when I see wannabe so-called gangsters trying to bring the Bible and they're out there trying to fight. Y'all don't know nothing about that, man. Y'all don't know nothing about that. You guys are kids. I'm 46 years old. That was 20 years something ago, man. Y'all don't even realize how life was between 1980 through 1997. I lost 9 people I knew. And you come out here and fight for corners because you want to teach the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians of the 12-tribe chart? Come on, man.
placing slavery at the center of the narrative. And that's what we did. It's not that we were hiding anything. I find the backlash in some ways unsurprising and in some ways surprising. For instance, with respect to Mr. Page, when one suggests that the 1619 Project is a project about Black victimization and not patriotism, it makes me wonder if Mr. Page even read the project or if Mr. Page even read my essay, because my essay is about how Black people,
listen to this,
despite undergoing chattel slavery, legal apartheid, lynching, racial terrorism, segregated schools, segregated housing, segregated military, believed fervently in the founding ideals and have fought generation after generation to make those ideals true. And in fact, had a faith in a country that didn't treat us as citizens and expanded democracy for all Americans.
Now listen to that, okay? When you sit there and you empathize with another nation because they suffered so much, and every 2 years we get movies about slavery, right? And she makes comments like that. Oh yeah, you're right. But subliminally, what is she saying? That everything has happened because of them.
I don't think that.
And then you get this right here, bro. It's just sad, you know what I'm saying? You know, you believe people, man. You believe people. You break bread with them. You sit down with them. You introduce your families. Some of these fools wicked. And now I know why. All right, we're gonna go through this again. And again, I'm not targeting this particular school, man. I'm just using material. I would have used anybody, but yeah, I know who this is. This is regarding the critical race theory, right? With that sister slope. Sorry, what that heathen said, because that's what it is to me right now. That thing is a heathen to me right now. You guys are gonna know why. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip this part because I want to get to the point. Watch what this dude said. Again, this content does not belong to Bible Chronicles and make zero claims that it belongs to Bible Chronicles. Okay, guys?
Big Sodom and Egypt. Solomon and Egypt. All right, read that.
This is edweek.org. What is critical race theory and why is it under attack?
Let's find out. Let's find out.
Is critical race theory a way of understanding how American racism has shaped public policy, or a divisive discourse that pits people of color against white people? Liberals and conservatives are in sharp disagreement.
You know, this is crazy, man. This is crazy.
Right.
We ain't pinning ourselves against nobody, bro. They are the ones who pin themselves against us. Give me that Ezekiel 35 real quick, man. They're the ones who from day one had a problem with us.
Remember, from day one.
Right. Okay. You know what I want.
Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel.
Do you see that thing? It ain't
That's right.
it ain't the so-called people of color against them. No, it's them against us. They had to beef with us first.
I remember that. Give me a second, guys. All right, here goes.
Should be in writing past these wrongs.
Oh, how about this? How about you give us everything you have?
That's
right.
Yeah, man. They got to give all of it back.
Run it. Go ahead.
What's crazy, Cap, is they're trying to play victim for us, telling
Exactly.
what you did to us.
Exactly.
And the thing is, we were listening at Clubhouse last night. One lady just couldn't believe that white people are evil and all of them are bad because her son plays with a white kid.
Oh, gosh.
Read to me Sirach chapter 12, verse 10.
Sister from Ghana, right?
Yeah. And it was just amazing how our people don't see that these people are quick to play victim, but they'll continue to put laws to oppress you, continue to put laws to kill your kids, push homosexuality on your kids, and stop your reproduction. Read that.
Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
The Bible don't say sometimes, he don't say occasionally. He says never trust thine enemy. And God makes it very clear who your enemy is because he told you what your enemy was going to do to you. Put you on slavery on slave ships. Read verse 16.
Verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with
I need to get me one of those, by the way.
his lips.
See, they get on these platforms, this news article, and makes it look like they're the ones being attacked. They make it look like they are the victim. Read.
But in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit.
There you go.
He will weep with his eyes.
He don't weep with his eyes. That's when he's saying, is it going to make turning black people against us? No, you're just trying to play victim when you know everything you've ever done to us is to destroy us. Everybody you've dealt with, you've paid reparations except for us, so you have no mercy for us.
Remember everything that he says, right? Remember everything that he says. And he says that the white man played the victim. And you know what? There was a time where I actually believed this crap. And I'm going to tell you guys why there was a time where I actually believed it. When I left these particular rooms, I had to really question myself, man. I'm gonna tell you guys something. I don't know if you guys can agree with the so-called Northern Kingdom, right? Because we get bombarded from Aboriginals, from BOI camps like Fopies and One West camps that, you know, if you don't believe in this doctrine, then you're a heathen, or the daughter ain't dealing with you, or you know, if you have a different doctrine, we ain't brothers no more. Hey, brother, oh man, you know, I love my people, man. You're out there in the corner. I love my people, man. Yeah. You come in, all of a sudden, you disagree with a particular scripture, man, whatever it may be, right? Guess what? We ain't brothers no more. How funny, man. I find that so weird. Now, they're saying that the white man's a victim. All right. We're going to find out if this is true. The gloves are coming off today.
The American misled and great portions of our history.
So that's Glenn Beck. And there's something else I want to show you about what he says, but I wanted to play that first because it was very interesting. Because,
by the way, whoever did this video, I really appreciate that. You know, did you know the Southwest? I'm not trying to take credit for it. I really appreciate what you've done. Okay, whoever you are, thank you. It's really edifying.
A lot of people do not know their history, and it's not surprising because the victor writes the history. So the victor could say anything they want about the loser. So for prime example is the North and the South. The North won over the South. So the North could dictate the information that we know about the South. They could say whatever they want. Oh, the South was more racist than the North. It's not that the North wasn't racist, but the South is more racist than the North. I'm telling you that that's not the case. That's a huge lie. The South was far more friendlier to Black people than the North.
By the way, do you know who the first Republican president of the GOP was in Texas? Yeah, he was a black guy. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?
Now, I strongly believe that he's talking about Norris Wright Cooney. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Now, when you go and Google images, it's funny that you see a white man, but there's a few images of him being black. And I'm not surprised there's confusion because, you know, they try to write us out of history. Black people didn't do anything besides being.
And by the way, I'm gonna prove that that's not true. This is not a so-called black and white man mix. This is a Canaanite. I'm gonna prove it.
Slaves, right? I mean, they play these games all the time with us. But Black people were prominent in the Republican Party. After the Civil War, a whole bunch of Black people got positions of power in the South, right? Not the North, the South. Well, isn't the South supposed to be more racist than the North? How is it that a whole bunch of Black people got positions of power in the South? Well, because the Southerners were far more friendly to each other than the Northerners, okay? You could even look up the Black codes. They would say freedmen, free Negroes, mulattoes. Why are they mentioning mulattoes? Because there's enough mulattoes in the South to mention, and that means that Caucasians and Negroes were definitely getting on with one another. And we know that white supremacists don't like being around Black people and definitely don't want to have children with them. So
remember, don't listen to everything that this person's saying. I think it's a female. I don't know. So, okay, just extract what's important. I'm going to fast forward it because some of this is not true.
Pay attention. They tell you that
That's
the
true.
North was.
But let me fast forward. There's a point here that I want to make.
Some truth. But and when it comes to slavery, it's not that there weren't problems under slavery, but they're exaggerating about the problems. That's the thing. If you want to tell a lie, there has to be some truth in it.
That's true.
And yes, there were some slaves that were being abused, but the vast majority were not because
and we're going to prove that
they were property. Property is valuable. Who goes around and damages and destroys?
But that's not true.
But don't realize them. Funny that when Black people are actually doing well under slavery,
watch this.
That's the truth. And it's funny that when Black people got out of slavery, it was much easier to attack them and marginalize them. The lynchings, that wouldn't happen under slavery because the slave owners wouldn't tolerate their slaves being lynched every 5 seconds. Black people actually were doing well in the South. Now, no doubt about it, the North and the South had different cultures. So the North won, they had to make the South like the North. It was not. It took some time, but eventually they did it. Okay?
All right. Now let's prove it. I found this guy. His name is Hannibal Hamlin, right? So Hannibal Hamlin, this is what he looks like. That's what this guy looks like, right? Typical white guy. That's not him. What's this? This is from library. Y'all can go back to my class. Watch this. It says, the name of Hannibal Hamlin recalls those medals issued during the campaign of 1860. They contained ambrotype portraits of the candidates. On most of them, Mr. Hamlin was given such a swarthy complexion that perhaps these very medals confirm the belief in the lie industriously claimed that the South, that one of his parents was a mulatto. There's a reason why they say that, right? And that he was named in honor of the great Carthaginian to blazon his African descent before the world. At all events, thousands of people in the South actually believed that Lincoln and a nigger were the Republican candidate. And he's being called that, right? Not because he's of African descent. It's because they think he's mulatto mix. That's where that 1/8 concept come from. It had nothing to do with Black people. You better believe that. All right, this is right. This is true. Watch this. This is from slave owners, right? Slaveholders. Look at this. Here it goes. Look. See, one freed the black master often obtained slaves by various methods. Many of the colored slave owners inherited slaves from black relatives as well as white folks, kinfolks, as well as white kinfolks. A few black masters owned slaves in West Africa and transported. You hear this? A few black masters owned slaves in West Africa and transported the slaves to the New World. But the majority of the black slavers used their own industry and worked as artisans, blah, blah, blah. Supposedly that's what it's saying. Then it says here, South Carolina blacks masters were small slave owners who owned 1 or 2 slaves, right? We'll see if this is true. We'll see if this holds weight. This is an interesting thing, right? So, matter of fact, you know what? I forgot my point. My apologies. Hold on, let me bring this up. The reason for bringing this up is this. Hold on a second. It says, for example, Hannibal, the former slave of Thomas Darrington, a slave driver, requested that his executioner invest the proceeds from the state that is purchased into the purchase of as many young Negro women as a different sum consolidated will buy, and to be put on shares and hired out. Also, like the white slave masters, the ex-slaves who rose from bondage to slave ownership used their human chattel as collateral to secure loans. We know that, right? We know that. Now, here's my point. Who is this other guy? I'm just bringing out the facts that these guys were not white people, man. This guy's name is Lewis. And I'm going fast because I literally want to make sure I can squeeze all this in. Lewis Wetzel. Okay? This is guy that's his family. Look. Okay? But watch what it says about this guy. Lewis Wetzel. Oh, this is from the Great West, right? This man. Watch what he does. Now I'm going to read up so you guys can see. I'm going to go back. I'm going to start from I'm going to read a lot here because I want to make a point. Okay? It's called Lewis Wetzel, the Indian Hunter. Supposedly he's a white guy, right? Among the earliest settlers in the region of Wheeling was a family of the name of, in fact, let me magnify. Among the early settlers in the region of Wheeling was a family of the name of Wetzel, the head of whom was German origin. Okay, the picture you would assume that he's German. Of course, yeah, he's a white guy. He got to be German. Although it was the hottest time of the Indian War, the old man was so rash as to build a cabin so distant from the fort and move his family into it. Dearly did he pay for his temerity. Basically, it's called pride. His family consisted, besides himself and his wife and 4 sons, Martin, Louis, Jacob, and John, right? Respectively 15, 13, 11, and 9, okay? Watch this. One day during the temporary absence of Martin, the oldest, and John, the youngest boy, the Indians, our people, made an attack upon the house, killed the old man, and carried off Louis and Jacob captive, okay? You know, you think like the movies, you see a white guy and an Indian guy comes in, and Indian guy shoots his, white guy, the white kids are mad at him, right? Yeah, perpetual hate. In the attack on those houses, Louis received a slight wound from a bullet, which carried away a small piece of breastbone. The second night after the capture, the Indians encamped in the Big Lake, 20 miles from the river, in what is now Ohio, right? Let me hurry up. After the Indians had fallen asleep, Louis whispers to his brother, get up, so he gets away, right? So I guess he walks away, comes back. Here he goes, right here. It says here, you stay here, he'll go around and return. Now come back, right? So he says, the young as they were, the boys were sufficiently expert with tracking paths in the woods to trace their course home. The moon enabling them by her occasional glimpse to find the trail which they had followed from the river, and the Indians soon discovered their escape and were heard by them hard on their heels. When the party in pursuit had almost overtaken them, they stepped aside in the business to let them pass, right? Watch this real quick. The other returned the pursuer that did the same, okay? The next day, they reached Wheeling and safely. They were exhausted. As the Wetzels grew up to be men, the frontier boys, when never large enough to handle a rifle, considered themselves as such. They took a solemn oath never to make peace with the Indians while they had strength to wield a tomahawk or slight to draw a bead. They esteemed revenge for the death of their father as the most precious and sacred portion of their inheritance, right? You would think, yeah, that's how white people are, man. Perpetual hate. You know what I mean? They're like forever. Fully did they glut their vengeance. It was estimated that the four brothers, in the course of this long Indian war, took near 100 scalps. Damn white people, right? That's what you think. Damn white people, right? Damn white people. 100 scalps. War was the business of their lives. They would prowl through the Indian country singly, suffer all the fatigues of hasty marches in bad weather, starvation, lying in close concealment, and watching for a favorable opportunity to inflict death on the devoted victims who were so unfortunate as to come within their grasp. That included children. My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my children, my daughter, we were walking. Notwithstanding their numberless exploits, they were braggadocious. Notwithstanding their numberless exploits, there were no braggadocious. In truth, when they had killed an Indian, they thought no more of it than a butcher would kill. And a butcher would after killing a bullock. It was their trade. You think a white man, right? Remember, Lewis was their father. Lewis Wetzel was perhaps the most indefatigable Indian hunter in the frontier. During the wars, it is said that disguised as an Indian, he killed in the region of Upper Ohio alone 27 of the enemy, besides a number more on the Kentucky frontier. His person was in keeping with his character. His person was in keeping with his character. He was about 5 feet 9 inches in height, very broad shoulders, and full-breasted. His complexion was dark and swarthy as the Indians, and his face pitted with smallpox. His hair, of which was very careful, reached when combed out to the calves of his legs. His eyes were remarkable, right? Blah, 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 blah. He was a true friend, but a dangerous enemy. This black man destroyed a lot of our brothers and sisters. Lewis answered that he was not, that he came out to hunt Indians, that they were now found, and that he was going home like a fool with his finger in his mouth. He would take an Indian scalp or lose his own before he went home. It's the Wetzel family, right? The Wetzel family. They weren't white. They're black. So much of a brotherhood, huh? As I kept reading, I wonder what this was. What does this mean? And you look into it more and more, and you start making sense out of it. See this white woman, right? See this so-called black woman? Who's the servant? Now, I'll prove to you why she looks like that. That's not a black woman or African descent. These people have been playing chess with us for a long time. But today they're getting exposed. And I'm calling every single school out. Give me a second. Let me take this out here. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? This is from, I believe, South Carolina Historical Magazine. It says, many of the slaves in this country have previously been slaves Others have been owners of slaves in Africa. If not, therefore seem to be unnatural for a Negro in America to hold his brethren. Right? That's a lie. Let me read this. Free blacks became slave owners early in history. Indeed, one of the first known legal sanctions of slavery, other than the punishment for crime, involved a black owner, a Canaanite. In 1654, Anthony Johnson, which his name is Antonio. I don't have time to pull that up, but I found out his real name is Antonio. Anthony Johnson and his wife Mary, in a court sued, gained the service of their black servant, and that wasn't an African, by the way. So he sues these people, right? And apparently, slave owning for free Negroes was so common in the period of Commonwealth as to pass unnoticed and without criticism by those who consciously recorded events of the time. This is from Negroes in Virginia. It says the most remarkable property right possessed by free Negroes with OES was the right to acquire, own, and alienate slaves, meaning our people. Indeed, for more than 20 years from the time the free Negroes, you Africans, first appeared in the court, there was no legal restriction upon their rights to own indentured white servants. They did that too, because y'all ruled Europe. There were black slave owners in Boston as early as 1724, 1787, 1797. Among the earliest records, dead books. Let's see, 1790, 48 Maryland black owners possessed 143 slaves. Nat Butler, a free black who lived near Aberdeen in Hartford County, on a small farm, regularly purchased and sold Negroes for the Southern trade. Some considered black slavers. Listen to this, guys. Some considered black slave owners hard taskmasters, Exodus, and claimed free black owners were as a usual thing, much more severe on their slaves than the white owners. So you so-called black man, this is what you did to our people. You claim that those Europeans are your people. The Negroes who own slaves, y'all need to read these books. I'm not making anything up. I'm just reading it. What's this? Look, this is from South Carolina Historical Message. Free blacks were slave owners for more than 200 years. Free blacks became slave owners early in our history. Indeed, one of the first known legal sanctions of slavery, other than the punishment for crime, involved a black owner, Anthony Johnson. Y'all saw that.
Hey, shalom, brethren. Sorry about that, brothers. Let me go ahead and take this off real quick. That was pretty much the class that I wanted to provide for you guys today. I have something else in mind, but I wasn't fully prepared for it. Give me a second. Let me see if I could actually put something up real quick. We're gonna keep going. This is Sabbath for me. So again, I follow the lunar Sabbath, and that's actually biblical. Okay. Let's watch this one. I think this is an interesting one.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. This is your brother Emmanuel coming back at you.
Again, these are older videos, so I'm just trying to, show our brethrens, the older ones, so then I can continue to move forward. Again, there's growth from these particular ones. Okay, so I saw somebody's post something about have peace that the Messiah. Listen, if you're gonna tell me to have peace, then you're not watching all my videos. So if you're not watching all my videos, please by all means don't make statements like that. You obviously are not watching all my videos. You haven't progressed with me. So Sirach 11 and 7, please do that for yourself, okay? So if you haven't been growing with me and you don't understand where these classes are going, then don't make those statements. Watch my whole entire channel and then make your statement. That is a true Hebrew, not an assumption, okay? And don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna let the Messiah handle it." Where does the Bible say, "Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna wait around for the Messiah to kind of like fix these things for our people"? Our people need to know who they are according to the Bible, and they need to know the facts of what happened in the past, present, and future. What? I don't understand you, whoever you are. Okay, so I appreciate you watching the channel, man, but I'm just gonna be keeping it real with you. All right.
Again, or coming back to you again, I should say that. Obviously, always with the Spirit, Lord willing. That the Most High keeps me in mind, right? And continues to push me further into bringing you brothers and sisters more videos as best as possible and as much as I can. All right. I've been rather busy this week and somewhat.
And you know what? Sorry about the echo. I'll make sure to turn it off. Mashika Khans, you're right, man. Because it is. Look, listen. All I'm doing is I'm bringing up facts. That's all I'm doing. I'm over the anger aspect. These are older videos. Obviously, back that time, this is what. Look, dated. I don't even know. I re-uploaded several of them because YouTube was blocking and wasn't giving people the feed. For some reason, it wasn't letting people in my channel. So I had to rechange everything. Okay. These older ones from June, July, August, September. Now we're in October. That's a 4-month growth. You understand what I'm saying? Remember, I was part of a camp for 4 years. I left that camp in the beginning of this year, probably February. It takes time to outgrow that evil, wicked doctrine. Okay. So you either stay there and dwell in it and then bug out, or you go and search the scriptures for yourself so you don't let some foreigner tell you who you are according to the Bible, because that's technically what you're supposed to do. Let me continue with the video.
Going through some trials, right? Just like Sirach 2 and 1. So it was a little difficult to get back on track. Anyways, that said, I got something for y'all. The class is the I guess the edification, I want to call it the deconstruction of the Hispanic psychosis. Okay, so again, the deconstruction of the Hispanic psychosis. First and foremost, I want to go to this scripture because there's a reason why I have this title. So let's get into it, man. Without further ado, all right. This is Psalms 83, verse 1. It says, "A song of psalms of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head." Now, brothers and sisters, they is your enemy. And I'm going to prove to you that the so-called white man and these other nations are our enemy. The reason why I really wanted to do this class today is because some of y'all are actually celebrating 4th of July, right? So I want to remind y'all that that doesn't pertain to us. Again, Psalms 83, verse 2. "For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee," you so-called Hispanic, you so-called native, right? That's thee, "have lifted up
the head, and they, your enemy that hate thee, have lifted up the head. They, your enemy, brothers and sisters, have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And by the way, is that not still going on? Or is this an emotional tangent? No, these are facts. This is still going on. If it had stopped, and then I would understand, yes, brother. But no, man, we have to let our people know what is going on. We don't teach hate in this channel. We teach facts so then we can get rid of that hate. As I've mentioned in other classes, colonialism came with the force of anger, bitterness, and pillaging and destruction, the evilness behind that particular demon. Okay. Now we absorbed it because of colonialism. So now our job is to get rid of that anger and change it into something that is what? Building our families together. A sane, prudent man will understand, hey, this is what happened to me. Perfect. Now, what do I do to help my people? There's no emotion behind it. These are facts. We need to teach our people these things. Now, you got one West Cams that are saying, F the white man, F the white man, F the woman. It's all the woman's fault. It's all the white man's fault. We're going to get the kingdom. Yeah, many women. Ha, ha, ha. Y'all going to die. And then what? What are they doing to build our people up? They're not absolutely doing anything. They tell you to wear fringes. And then what? Stop eating pork. And then what? They can never give us an understanding, a deep understanding of the psychosis of our mind. Every now and then they'll touch on it, and then they just basically brush because they don't have the spirit. Those are facts. That's not emotion. That's not hate. Those are facts. You see, I walked that road. I was among this group. I applied all the scriptures in order to be a better brethren because I grew up in a household where at one point we had brotherhood. Then I grew up in a hood in the streets, and we had brotherhood, even though it wasn't a good, it was unrighteous, but it was brotherhood. So when this comes in, guess what? Some of us feel the same way. And then the scriptures come in, and we're like, whoa, we're finally trying to figure out who we are according to the Bible. Great. But then eventually you start really seeing that the spirit beareth witness. And I'm like, man, you know what? They're different. They just seem a little different. They just seem like, I don't know, man. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then eventually I did. So those are facts. That's my experience. I don't know what your experience is, but my experience is that. And you know what? That's the experience a lot of our brothers have gone through. And those are facts.
Okay? So, crafty counsel against thy people. What does crafty mean? And I know that probably some of y'all may think it's funny to look up the word crafty, but I want to make sure that we understand what we're dealing with. Crafty means clever at achieving one's aim by indirect or deceitful methods. Okay? Again, they, your enemy, have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted. Remember, thy people is the Israelites, you Hispanics, you Native Indians, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Prior to 1492, the hidden ones. All right? Keep that in mind. They, the enemy, prior to 1492, right, had no clue who we were. And I'm going to prove to you that they did have an idea once they started taking power back. And all of that was prophesied, but that's a different class. Again, Psalms 83:3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, you Hispanics and Native Indians, and consulted against thy hidden ones. We were hidden at one point. All right. Verse 4. They have said, they is the so-called white man, the so-called Arab, the so-called Asian, the so-called Hindu, the so-called I don't know, African, right?
And now we know who they are. Correct? This is why we have to go back to these classes, because at that time, that was my understanding just leaving One West Camp. But then eventually, as I started doing more research, I realized, wait a minute. So now the question is, well, let me not throw that out yet, because I'm actually studying this particular point. Okay. is it just seems really awkward that the so-called white man and the so-called black man have been mingling together for some time. I'm just going to throw that out there.
The other nations, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. All right. So I want to make sure that you, our brothers and sisters, understand that we at some point, remember, consulted against thy hidden ones. Prior to 1492, there was no way that the so-called Europeans were able to come to this continent, okay? So it was prophetic that they would get here with a mindset. And who is these nations? The Tabernacle of Edom, the so-called white man, the Spanish Caucasian, the French Caucasian, the English Caucasian, the Dutch Caucasian, all of them, the Ishmaelites. They are the Arabs, right? Who were part of the transatlantic slave trade or the sub-Saharan slave trade of Moab. Those are the Chinese, the Hagarenes, the Gabal. Those are Africans. Ammon is Japanese. Amalek is Amalek, right? The Philistines and the inhabitants of Tyre. Those are so-called Africans, right? And that's another class because a lot of brothers in other camps do not bring up any classes regarding these people right here. But again, let's stick to the point. These have consulted against thy hidden ones. All right. So how do I know this? Watch this, guys. First of all, I want to read under Sections 107 of Copyright Acts 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comments, teaching, education, scholarship, and research. Fair use is fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in the favor of the fair use. I am in no way benefiting from this whatsoever. This is all for educational and teaching and edification purposes. Let me play this for you, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, they knew eventually who we were, and they knew where the hidden ones could possibly be. This is from a scene from the movie, and I recommend y'all get it. 1492 Conquers to Paradise. They give us little hints as to who we are according to the Bible. Okay? Watch this.
Why do you wish to sail west? To open a new route to Asia.
I'm going to play it twice, by the way.
Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
Can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Maradotti, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. We are burning people for less. The men you're about to confront have no emotion.
Remember that one more time, and I'm going to prove some things.
Why do you wish to sail west?
To open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
Can't you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marandotti, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. They are burning people for less. The men you're about to confront have no emotion.
Remember, he said Toscanelli here. I'll play it one more time.
They are burning people for less.
Hold on.
2 minutes. Esdras is a Jew.
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marandotti, Esdras.
Toscanelli, Moradity, and then Ezra. So I'm going to focus on Toscanelli and Esdras. I looked up Moradity, but I think it's more powerful that we actually look up Toscanelli. So first and foremost, I want to make something clear.
Hey, another thing too. Let me show y'all something real quick. Okay? Because remember, everything that we know so far, unfortunately, has been from One West. I'm not going to lie about that. A lot of our people learned their doctrine. And quite frankly, it begs to question now exactly what is it that they've taught us, right? I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. Let me just find it. Watch this. So I'm gonna do a class on this, guys. Okay, I have several maps like this, old school maps, and guess where it says Tartaria, right? You know where Arsharith technically is? Right there. Second Esdras, Cuarto Esdras, capítulo 13. Hicho los tribus Sephri de Tortari. I cannot read that, but it's basically saying where the 10 tribes went. So if the 10 tribes went there, then obviously this is a skip and a hop in Russia and Alaska. See that? The strait, then Anian, that's what it was called. Okay. Rios Tiguas, you see that? Rios Tiguas, Rio Aba, Chichicuic, Tijuas, you see that? Tijuas, like Tijuana. Rio Tortonteas, you see what I'm saying, brethren? Look, California. So I'm going to do a class on this because what they said is incorrect 100%. What they did is they did this. I'm going to show y'all. Map of the world. See, in order for them to apply their doctrine and claim that our people were quote unquote Africans or Canaanites, well, in order for that to work, you'd have to say, oh, wait, let me get a bigger one. Let me see. Maybe here. Let me see. Bear with me real quick. I'm just looking for a map. All right, perfect. Okay. So here we see. Here, let me do this real quick. Hold up. Here we see this. Let me move this over here this way. Okay. So here we see now why they would do that. Okay. So if the 10 tribes were in servitude in slavery right around this area, you know what I'm saying, with the Assyrians, okay? Now the Assyrians had power over this region. The Persians extended it further, okay? But the Assyrians were the ones that were having power, and it was limited. So the 10 tribes were here, okay? In order for them to say, "Oh yeah, brother, we're the same people. Yeah, we went this way and then all the way around to Africa, and you know what I mean. We went all the way down the Euphrates River, and then we just went down this way, and then like we got on boats, and then the Mosai River went across, and blah blah blah." And I believed it too, because I'm like, well, yeah, the Bering Strait, that doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as ice that you could, cross over. But when you read the scriptures, it's different. So anyhow, I'm just saying, like, this is where their whole concept is. That's why. What would make more sense would be is if they actually said where never mankind dwelt. They know that mankind dwelt here, so why wouldn't they go that way? Which is why we see customs of some of our gente the Raramuri of Chihuahua, which is the Raramuri of Chivava. So that's why you see Yucatan through this area. Why you think we have some people that look somewhat Asian? From my understanding, it looks like we might have gone that route. Anyways, I'm gonna do a class on this. I'm just saying we had doctrines that were teaching us something else. Now, I'm not claiming that this is the correct thing. All I'm saying is the maps basically tell us a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna explore this more. I'm gonna study it more before I even do a class on it. I'm just letting y'all know where I'm finding that we actually did travel through. All right, and that completely takes away all that old African doctrine.
Where there's talking about second Esdras, and I'm not gonna read it, okay? But I'm gonna show y'all. It's the second Esdras right here. Second Esdras, chapter 13, verse 40 to 45, right? It says here, and I'll just read verse 1, verse 40. Then those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So here, this Christopher Columbus is referencing this Ezra's regarding this particular prophecy right here. Okay, so now we're going to the Jewish Encyclopedia. Watch what this says here. The word Arsareth, because in the same actual chapter, right, in verse 45, it ends with they took that long, and this 10 tribes, it says here, for though that country was a great way to go, namely a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. Okay, so you brothers and sisters, if you never read this, go to 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 40 and 45. Okay, just to start to get an understanding of how we got.
I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. There's another map, and everything I'm showing you guys obviously is so you guys can dig into this. Okay, you see that there? I showed you the other one that says Arsareth, right? And if you go here, let me see if I could flip this over. Give me a second. Hold on. Bear with me. Let's see. Give me a second, okay? Where are you? Look for America. Okay, here it goes. See the Ana Neon, right? Ana Neon, the street of Neon, right? Look at Arsareth. But see, this is the interesting part. These people here, as you can see, kind of how it's broken down. The Tartarians, it looks like they might have owned this territory. I'm just saying that that's the entrance of Arsareth, which would make more sense as to why they would go that direction and how we ended up here. Anyhow, again, I'm gonna do a class on this, guys, but just letting you know where it's leading to. Okay, so let me continue.
Here in the first place. So this right here, this Edomite right here is saying because of Toscanelli, and Ezra's, meaning that they had prophesied that there was another land, or Ezra's regarding the 10 tribes went somewhere else. Okay, watch this. The name of the land, this is Arsarid, the definition or how they understand it, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away.
Hey, keep in mind that they know they had these maps of that time. Okay, here, let me move him over here. Like they have this map, right? Check this website out, guys. It's a really, really cool website. Gives you all maps of everything, world, all kinds of stuff. Okay, check it. Now here's where I clicked on it. I just went here, and then it gives you the top of the map. I don't want to look for the one that spins around. Here, let me go do this, and it opens it up for you, right? And then you can just flip it around, just like so. See? Then you find yourself reading Arsareth and then Anain. and then you have, you know, California. It's really close, guys. You don't think Christopher Columbus knew this? You see how he said that they don't let him go through that area, right? So he had to sail across, right? He had to sail across. So all he had to do was just go from where he was at to here, from there to there. All right. Anyways, let's continue.
From the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses. And in another class, I had proven how we were actually keeping the laws of God. The tribes here and the natives were actually keeping the laws of Moses. I showed that in another class. I'll do it again. I'll do another class. Let me read this. Observing the laws of Moses until the time of restoration, according to 4th Ezra or 2nd Ezra 13, verse 45. Columbus identified
And the restoration is now.
America with this land, right? This land called Arsarith. Columbus identified America with this land.
But the distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite. Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands. Can't you be so certain? The calculations of Toscanelli.
Toscanelli, right? Watch what it says about this guy. So this is the map that Toscanelli had actually written. Paolo Toscanelli, map of 1474. So Christopher Columbus obtained this map. And you can see Africa, Hispaniola, or España, right? You see how the actual drawing of the Western Hemisphere, okay? So that's not just a movie. When we were younger watching it, listening to it, we didn't really think nothing of it. This stuff is real. This is from a book called Christopher Columbus and the Participation of the Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese Discovery. This is page 15. Watch what it says. He was also very fond of reading the Bible. This is Christopher Columbus. And the 4th book of Ezra, 2nd Ezra, which was probably written by a Jew who lived outside of the Palestine. According to his own assertion, the incentive that impelled Isaiah as well. But watch this. It says, in Portugal, Columbus earnestly conceived the idea of making maritime discoveries by the way of the West. Let's see. He wished to find a new route. Let me read it just for the sake of time. Henry the Navigator had already conceived a similar plan, and the Portuguese king never lost sight of it. This bold conception took firm root in the mind of Columbus, mainly through a letter which the great Florentine physician and astrologer Toscanelli sent to King Joao, this was the king of Portugal, through the monk Fernando. All right. So here we see how Christopher Columbus really did know there was such a guy named Toscanelli. Columbus applied to Toscanelli for a copy of his letter and received it through Girardi, a Genos, however you say it, who was then living in Lisbon.
Oh, sorry, brethren. I just want to show you real quick. So if you go to this page, this is how you do it. All right. You magnify, then you move it around this way. Okay. So as you can see, it's really pretty entertaining. At the same time, it helps you find the information a lot quicker. Apparently, there was a unicorn up there, so-called, right? You don't get to see it close like the other one, but at least you can work with this one. You know what I'm saying? So remember, we cannot go by the Bible only and not have historical information. The scriptures basically tell you to search your forefathers, right? Well, our forefathers lived in this world and they left traces of who they were and where they came from. Hello, makes sense. Okay, let's continue. So, anyways, the website is called davidrumsey.com. And I believe I have another one called, here, try this one, raremaps.com. And then this one, this is a good one too. I really like looking at maps, guys. So that's why I have access and I find these things. And us praise it to the Most High, man. It's really Him. It's not even me. It's SWAEN.com. I pulse whatever. Okay. So you guys see that, man. You take advantage of these maps because it's gonna really direct us into the true understanding of how we got here. All right. Remember, we were under the doctrine that we came all around Africa, but the reason why that had to be done in order for them to then say that we look like them. So if we didn't go, and plus, remember, land which never mankind dwelt, right? So people were in Africa. So why would we go that route? The only thing that would make sense is going down the Euphrates River and heading down that way. Anyways, again, I'm going to do a class on this, guys, because look what Arsarith is. Arsarith is right up there, but it's the entrance of a land that belongs to this other nation of people. All right, let me continue. So remember, write down the maps.
All right. So this is actual proof that this particular scene movie is not a movie. I mean, it's a movie, but there are facts to these movies. Okay. You brothers and sisters need to start waking up. Now, why am I going with this? Why did I even initially show this?
Oh, one more thing. I'm going to take the echo. I want to say something. Okay. I show this information in all my books because unlike other schools like One West, UIC, oh no, we can't show the books because they go in price. Listen, guys, I collect books, okay? So whether you buy them or not, they're gonna go up in price, they're gonna go down. So it's really up to the Most High whether you get a hold of these books. So I don't understand the silliness of them, okay? I'm just saying. Anyways, let's continue. That's why I share this information. There's nothing to hide, okay? Here it goes.
In the first place, there's a reason why I went here, okay? Because quite frankly, some of you brothers and sisters right now are actually have been celebrating 4th of July since what? Friday. Sincerely. Y'all don't even think about any concept of why in the world will you be celebrating 4th of July? You know, we talk about the so-called white man gentrifying, the so-called white man, what do they call it? Vulture culture, right? But weren't y'all vulture culture in 4th of July? Independence was not applying. This 4th of July does not apply to y'all so-called Hispanics and Native Indians. I'm going to tell you that right now. It does not. It does not apply at all whatsoever. Okay? So there's a reason why there is a 4th of July. So let's find out a little bit about what that is. All right? I'm just for the sake of understanding, because we're forgetting. That's why the title is The Deconstruction of the Hispanic Psychosis.
The American Revolution, that period of time when we became a country, but you're a little fuzzy on the details. What do we know for certain? We became a country and became independent in July of 1776. And because of that, you all get a day off to eat hamburgers and watch fireworks. Hooray! Most people don't stop to ask why the founders decided to declare independence from a powerful empire, considering the big risks associated with that action. In the next few videos, I'll try and give you a sense of why the founders thought they should do this. My name's Sarah Burns, and I'm a professor of political science. I study the American Constitution as well as the ideological origins of the revolution. I've always found this period so interesting because it's a group of people coming together and creating a country. To quote Hamilton, they decided to create a country from reflection and choice rather than accident and force. Just like that. To create a country from reflection and choice.
They came to create a country from reflection and choice rather than accident and force. Remember that.
Rather than accident and force. Just like that. Moreover, they actually managed to create a dialogue amongst a diverse group of people under incredibly stressful circumstances. So
that diverse group of people didn't include our people. I'm going to tell you that right now.
What were the stressors? First, they were trying to create a democracy over a large area. States of that size at the time were always run by monarchs.
You see that? The 13 colonies, right? Remember, guys, these are all so-called white people.
No one really
and by the way, I'm not knocking on their history. This is their history. It is what it is. But I'm trying to bring light to our people. What the hell are you doing celebrating this damn holiday that does not apply to us? That is not insulting to them. This is their holiday.
Thought that you could have a democracy.
But I'm talking to y'all, so-called Hispanics and Native Indians who are celebrating this thing with your damn... let me just continue.
Democracy over a country this size. Second, they were going up against the British military, which was a formidable fighting force, and we were not a formidable fighting force. What we see in the revolution, therefore, is a powerful testament to what people can achieve if they devote themselves to an important cause and work together. So, without further ado, in the following videos, we'll look at the lead up to the American Revolution. We'll talk about the increasing tensions between the British and the colonists, especially the abuses of the armed forces and the increase in taxes. Then we'll look at the ideological underpinnings of the revolution. And finally, we'll look at what the Declaration.
Military abuses, increased taxation, ideological underpinnings, and what did the Declaration declare? I'm not bringing any of this up again, and I'll say it one more time for political reasons, right? But if I were to take that route, man, I would just completely shred this because it's literally what y'all are doing now. But anyhow, to not get sidetracked here, we're not watching any of these more serious. I just wanted to bring a point. So let's find out what exactly is the 4th of July purpose behind it. Well, why do people celebrate 4th of July? The American Revolution, right? Also called the U.S. War of Independence, was the insurrection fought between 1775 and 1783 through which 13 of Great Britain's North American colonies threw off British rule to establish sovereign United States of America, founded with the Declaration of Independence in 1776. All right. British attempt to assert greater control over colonial affairs after a long period of salutary neglect, including the imposition of unpopular taxes. That's really the purpose behind it, honestly, guys, right? But remember, I want to make sure that y'all remember that in 1776, our so-called brothers, our brothers and sisters, so-called Hispanics and Native Indians, we were not enjoying any of this independence. Because remember, the 13 colonies, how the hell did these guys get here in the first place? They didn't come with open arms, love, and friendship. No. They started pushing our brothers and sisters to the West. So this independence technically does not apply to you so-called natives, you so-called Hispanics. All right? So I'm going to tell you that right now. It does not apply to us. Because watch this. This is called the Treaty of Paris. After 1783, right? Because these guys basically, after the war between the British, the U.S. and the French and Spaniards, they were all basically trying to fight for land. So they came up with this treaty. You see, U.S., Britain, Spain, French, right? Russia. So this was divided amongst them. Guess who's still oppressed? Our people in this orange section. Guess who's still oppressed in the green section? Yes, that's right. You Native brothers, right? And our Southern Kingdom brothers too. But again, that's not the topic. You see? So this 1776 independence, there was people that were not privileged to have freedom. Okay? Now check this out. The Proclamation of 1763 reserved the land west of the Appalachian Mountains for the Native Americans. So the British were basically trying to keep peace between the natives here and the white people here, okay, who were in the 13 colonies, who just technically stole the land from our brothers.
And now we know from the classes I've been showing that that the British were trying to have some peace here with us, and guess who? Yes, the so-called black man, the black European man that came and conquered just like the white man did. Those are facts, not emotions. Okay? So we got clarity now.
They no BS to that. When the Second Constitutional Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence in July 1776, among the charges levied at King George III was that he had endeavored to prevent population of these states, right? So check this out. Watch this. This is from, I'm sorry, and I'm reading stuff that I should definitely bring up to attention. The first is the Britannica, which I read regarding the American Revolution. The Treaty of Paris is just a map regarding using Google. This is, as you can see, just Google stuff, right? But I went to this website, the American Battlefield Trust. Watch what it says here real quick. It says here, even before the outbreak of war, the colonists were angered by the ways that the British government tried to manage the relationship between its colonists and Native Americans. Okay? So prior to 1776, there was no real good relationship between the natives, our brothers and sisters, and the so-called white man.
Now we know that it's not them, actually, that it was a combination of both. And because they were colonists trying to enslave our people, and they were doing it. Partis Sequestrum Ventrum passed in 1662. Almost 100 years, more than 100 years prior to 1776. Their whole objective was to conquer, manifest destiny their way through the whole land. And luckily, Mexico was the one that actually could push him back. If they would have beaten Mexico, all America would have been, yes. That's the reality, guys. That's the reality. If you know your history with the wars that were going on from Mexico and all the way down south, that's why they had to skip around and get around them and then try to oppress Venezuelanos and all these other, our gente. This is stuff this deep, man. Y'all got to study this thing too.
Don't forget that, people. The proclamation. Hold on a second. Let's say the British were concerned by violence between the white settlers and native people in the frontiers and attempted to keep the two groups apart. The proclamation of 1763 reserved the lands west of Appalachian Mountains for Native Americans, which the colonists resented. We know that y'all did because you kept pushing more towards the west. This is why you have this right here, because eventually the green section turned all the way through across America and became covered the whole orange section. It went from one hand of power to the other power. So now, right here, it says here, what the revolution is about, what they're actually celebrating, right? The role of the native, in a sense. I'm going to show this to y'all. Hopefully, I thought I had it. Give me a second here. Hold up, brothers. Hold up. I thought I had the video up. Oh, that's right. Here. Watch this. Watch this real quick. So, again, we're talking about, independence, right? We're talking about 4th of July. Since 1776, they've been celebrating this, right? It's a consistent celebration. And throughout all the, by the way, I just want to remind y'all, since 1492, the so-called Hispanic has been struggling for independence. And even till this very day, and I'm going to prove it to y'all that there ain't no independence for us either. Watch this. This is after the American Revolution.
Years ago, pre-contact, Haudenosaunee territory was mostly New York State. And now a lot of these communities are in Canada. And then when that boundary was drawn between the US and Canada, which to separate British territory from American territory, Haudenosaunee people weren't considered at all in those negotiations. And there's a community I work in called Caucasity.
You see that? In 1776, this independence was only considered for the white man. And they know that.
And the so-called black man. And we know that now. So my message goes to you guys. We know who you are. Okay? Which is okay. It's fine. Just search your own salvation. Not with our book.
That's why you have these groups here. And we're gonna see this too. Which, you know what? As much as I hate this, it is who they are. I'm not surprised by it. Y'all brothers and sisters are. I'm not.
It's actually now half in the US and half in Canada because that border was drawn straight through their community. You have a Oneida community in New York, and then you have an Oneida community in Wisconsin. So people got pushed out that way too. You have a Seneca community in Oklahoma because they got relocated as well. Now, people who were originally living in one area are kind of spread much farther apart because they were just.
Here, I'm going to bring something up real quick because I realized, man, it took a while to bring up some Bible scriptures up there, huh? Let me go here real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27, and it reads, "And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you," meaning that you're going to be a very small within them. Like, for example, where I live, it's like a small community. Now it's getting gentrified, but before it was like just us in the community, like in a corner. It's Pozole in Oceanside, right? Like that's a ghetto. It was very known for a big hood back from 1980. Well, wow, man, they had generational gang members here. Up until the 90s is when they started doing the gangs. I forget the term. It was where you couldn't be around other gang members or they'll put you in jail. All right. So again, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in numbers among the heathen, whether he shall lead you.
Sort of pushed and relocated after the American Revolution as people expanded and expanded and settlements and colonies got bigger and bigger. The military power of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which had been very powerful, it was a very powerful, large confederacy that kind of ran things on the East Coast, was broken after this. So Sullivan's campaign, where he burned 40 villages and destroyed all of this food, that really destroyed the political power. I mean,
4th of July, guys. You think they were doing fireworks after this? You think our native brothers were enjoying that?
As you can see, oh, my bad for the echo. As you can see, I did this back in July. It was before the 4th of July. So it's probably early July, maybe late September. I'm sorry, late June. Here's why I'm redoing this, guys. I had bought a external hard drive to basically upload all my videos. Well, guess what? All my files were in there too, because I figured, okay, let me move them. All my files got corrupted, which included all my studies, all my notes, all my videos. So you tell me who the hell that was. So I had to start all over again. But it's okay. I'm starting all over again. Ain't nobody stopping me.
Next year, the following year, like, hey, let's celebrate 4th of July, man. We just got taken over, destroyed.
you can't fight if you have no
Only an idiot does that.
Food. So it left the Haudenosaunee Confederacy in a very different place after that. Here in New England, you had, the Wampanoag, the Narragansett, the Pequot. So when it came time for the American Revolution, Wampanoag people out at Mashpee disproportionately fought and died for the American Revolution. You had so many widows there in that community that then had to, marry men from other places to even keep that community going. And they,
Yep, you know where I'm going on that one. Let me go get it. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse, I believe, 31. Yeah, 30. It says, thou shalt be betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Let me read it again. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. This is going to burn y'all. Thou shalt be betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant vineyards, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Why? Because you could go in war with these guys, and they're going to get you killed. And then they're going to enjoy your woman. Wow. Man, if you guys aren't the Hebrews, I don't know who you guys are.
and is still chipped away at that so that,
Remember it said about having resentment towards them? Remember it said this? It said that the proclamation of 1763 reserved the lands west of Appalachian Mountains for the Native Americans, which the colonists resented.
by them. And they, colonists still chipped away at that so that, by the, I think it was by the late 1800s, it had turned from, an Indian community to a township.
And we saw the other classes where they were still putting our brothers and sisters in institutions, right? To making sure that they were assimilating.
But then white people.
So much for 4th of July independence, huh?
Sort of interfere with. And they were taking, land by nefarious ways up until.
By wicked ways.
Like the 1990s.
You hear that?
So it didn't necessarily help that Native people had fought even on the side of the American Revolution. Native people.
Boom. It didn't even help. Y'all hear this?
Really lost out. So it didn't matter who you sided with. People still lost their land. And
You see, guys, we still lost our land. We still lost our land. Here's why. Here's why we believe these things. All right. Here's why. We go to war for them because we basically want this. Since they came and took the land. Lamentations 4:17. As for us, our eyes had yet failed for our vain help. For our vain help. Meaning what? Their pointless help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us, meaning could not help us. Why? Because look.
Still kind of weren't treated as they had hoped they would. I guess by the late 1800s, it had turned from, an Indian community to a township.
And we saw the other classes where they were still putting our brothers and sisters in institutions, right? To making sure that they were assimilating.
But then white people.
So much for 4th of July independence, huh?
Sort of interfere with. And they were taking, land by nefarious ways up until.
By wicked ways.
Like the 1990s.
You hear that?
So it didn't necessarily help that Native people had fought even on the side of the American Revolution. Native people.
Boom. It didn't even help.
Vain help.
Y'all hear this?
On either side really lost out. So it didn't matter who you sided with. People still lost their land and still kind of weren't treated as they had hoped they would be.
You see that? That's why this is not awkward to me. What at all? These guys right here, it's not awkward to me. This is who they are. This is who they've always been. This is who they always will be. But y'all want to go ahead and hang out with them, marry them, have kids with them. We're supposed to get away from these other people. This is how we start taking care of ourselves. That's why the Bible says the Israelites are supposed to take care of each other. We, on the contrary, are killing each other left and right due to curses, and also because our wicked ways, our wicked mind, and a lot 2/3 don't want to change. But here, this is nothing to me. It doesn't surprise me. But some of y'all are so surprised. It's like Lamentations 4:17. Here, matter of fact, let's read it real quick. I know I brought it up in the past, but let's read it real quick. Because look, this is a true fact. It says, Lamentations 4:17, as for us, our eyes have as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They save themselves. They're not going to save us. This is proof.
Out of that U-Haul in Idaho is a sort of subset or a knockoff of the more violent white supremacist groups that we're starting to hear of now in terms of January 6th, Proud Boys and others. That doesn't make them not dangerous. It's just that their real focus is on performative. Look at me, I'm going to wear this sort of khaki, preppy, geeky outfit, mask myself, and it's quite performative. They can be dangerous, but what they're doing is they are showing up in places where there will be a disruption. And they want us to note that disruption, even though they didn't do anything that any more than just 30 guys showing up in khaki pants. The reason why they're doing this, and we've had a problem with them in Boston before and other groups, it's twofold. One is the fights that we're having politically about where does this end, right? Is America going to become more?
All right. So here, let me make sure that I bring up a point here, because Lamentations 4:17 says, as for us, our eyes had yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us, right? And that's very true. This political realm of Democrats and Republicans are all hoping and giving y'all wishes and so-called love. In secret, they hate y'all. This is not going to change, okay? You know when it's going to change? You know how it's going to change? I'm sorry. This right here. This is for you so-called white men. All right? Enjoy your position of power. And it's only there because the Most High God allowed it. Romans 9:13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, you so-called Hispanic, you native Indian. But Esau have I hated, the so-called white man. Okay? Here God is saying that he hates Esau. Why is that? Why is that? Malachi 1, 2, and 3 also says that. So it's not just in the matter of fact, Paul, or the prophet Paul, is referencing Malachi 1. It says, I had loved you, say the Lord, Malachi 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, you say, wherein has thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, say the Lord? I'm sorry, was not Jacob Jacob's brother? Say the Lord, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Okay? So this right here, Esau man right here, he's supposed to be in position of power because it was prophetic. He's basically the Most High's tool. He used the basis of the things of the world in order to put us in bondage because we technically deserve it. Now, excuse me, I'm coming down from that cough. Thank goodness. Thank God. Why am I bringing Romans 13? All right.
So just so y'all know, I got COVID twice. The first one and then the second one. And both of them knocked me to the ground. The first one took me out for a whole week. The second one, this last one, which was last year, started in December. I got real sick. Man, I was almost gonna die. I kid you not. And then I got what's called a brain fog for like 2 or 3 months. I was dealing with like I couldn't even think straight, man. It's like waking up in the morning. That's when you wake up in the morning, you're opening your eyes and stuff like, oh man. I felt like that all day for like 2.5 months, man. I was afraid because I couldn't read the Bible. I didn't want to read the Bible. I couldn't memorize things. I was losing my memory, man. It was that stuff was just I'm telling you, man, there's spirits that are out there for destruction, which the Most High created. I read that yesterday. Anyways, I don't want to go there. Let's go to class. Well, let me bring this up real quick because I want to show y'all. I'm just gonna bring this up real quick. Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. Matter of fact, I'll read verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob held his hand first the heel of Esau. This is regarding Genesis 25. For you so-called white man, enjoy your position of power. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. Your world is about to end. Okay? So this is why I don't blame y'all for what you're doing.
Groups that we're starting to hear of now, and
this is, for me, is expected because technically y'all about to lose power. Thus saith the Lord, right? So again, I'm bringing this up, brothers and sisters, because there is absolutely no reason why we should be involved with these people in any way, in any kind of shape, form whatsoever, in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, because these people did not come with friendship, love, and honor. No, they came with the sword from the beginning. They knew they knew who we were, and they were just trying to figure out a way to get here. All right, and that's why in Psalms 83 it talks about they were gonna what? Make sure that Israel would not know who they are. That's why you so-called Hispanics and Native Indian, y'all don't know who you are. You think you're a native. You think you're just an Indian. Y'all think it's just Aztecs and Mayas, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. Or that we've lived in this continent for thousands of 12 to 30,000 years because the so-called white man told y'all. But on the contrary, we're at the actual 10 tribes of Israel. Watch this. When these guys came, this is what their intent. Psalms 49:11, it says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. Whose houses? Whose houses should continue forever? We gotta ask ourselves that question. Let's see if I could show y'all what I mean. You see this? When the so-called white man came over here, their intent was what? Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations, meaning their generations. They call their lands after their own names. America Vespucci. That's why they call America, America. Do you realize in Mexico, a lot of the cities of Mexico are from Spain? In America, a lot of the name of the cities are from Britain. French names. They call their lands after their own names. God. Like, for example, I was born in Guadalajara, and that name comes from Spain. And it was from somebody last named Guadalajara or something like that. Okay, I didn't dig into it because I don't care. But those are facts in regards to how a lot of these towns in Mexico and in here in America were named after them. That's what I mean. Guys, let's start to wake the hell up. You know why? Because these people had an intent. So for you loving Christians, right, who just would like, there's absolutely nothing that the so-called white man could have done to us. I'm going to remind you of something real quick regarding their inward thoughts.
is that their houses shall continue forever and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own name, after their own names. How do they do this? You see, you Christians, right? Who love white Jesus, who love Catholicism. Oh, my cross. Oh, La Virgen Maria. That damn wicked idol. That's devilish, man. Y'all brothers and sisters don't realize that when you're worshiping the so-called Virgin Mary, you're worshiping a demon. Look at these guys. This is the Papal Bull of 1954 that authorized Portugal and Spain authority over lands, right? This is a pope.
Hey, let me show you guys something real quick regarding that, okay? Watch. Because I don't ever just want to say things. Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah. That's the first one. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 18. It reads, okay? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven. The queen of heaven? The queen of heaven. Who is that? Well, check this out. Guess who the queen of heaven is? Yep. Booyah. This is the queen of heaven. This is who you guys are worshiping. You make cakes to this woman, to this image. Let me read it again. The children gather wood, and the father kindle the fire. The women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke anger. This is why we're getting slaughtered. This is why it's our job, men, to teach our people who they are according to the Bible, because we're still gonna keep getting it if they don't get it right. This is a family affair. You guys heard about family, love my family, right? Up and down, we're still family. That's how it is, man. We family. You're my brethren, and I love the fact that I can imagine and see, hey, yo te veo como una amistad de un plazo largo. You know what I'm saying? Not just somebody random. Watch this real quick. December 12th, Mexican on his knees. Look at this, man. This is crazy. Watch this. Let me show you something. I don't want to get off topic, but it kind of is within the
Chase
topic.
Freedom Unlimited rewards
my bad.
every you moment with cashback.
We can see December 12th is coming up, right?
barriers.
December 12th is coming.
Cashback on-
And we know what, if you guys know what's going on December 12th, well, guess what? December 12th is this day here. People, and listen, I've done this walk when I was little. My mom took me to the walk, okay? I didn't do this, but I remember seeing people this, man, it's a very vague memory, man. I can't remember that much, but I remember seeing something like this in Guadalajara. Here it goes.
Venimos, bueno, ya tengo 18 años viniendo y hace 3 años y hace 2 venía con mi mamá y hace 1 año falleció ella y la traigo en mi...
You hear that song? La Guadalupana, La Guadalupana. I remember hearing these things when I was little, man. I remember all of them.
Mi virgencita y también por ello también venimos su nuera, mi hija, una promesa que hice con ella.
You see this? Did you see that? She's on her knees. A lot of our people go miles on their knees. In case you guys don't know this, One West Camp. Hey guys, listen. This is what our people do, and you don't teach this to our gente, man. I wonder why. Oh, but you love showing the Russian icons with the very same image, but because they're dark, it's okay. Come on, man.
Esperemos a la Virgen que nos den y que nos quiten toda esta enfermedad.
You see that? To the Virgin Mary. Okay? To the Queen of Heaven. The children gather wood, and the father kindles a fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto the other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. And those they make atole, they make what do you call those things? They make them with masa. Oh God, I can't remember. They put cheese inside, man. It's delicious stuff. Now watch what it says in Spanish. 7:18, it says, los hijos cogen la leña y los padres encienden el fuego y las mujeres amasan la masa para hacer tortas a la reina del cielo y para hacer ofrendas a dioses ajenos por provocarme a ira. ¿No le dicen a la Virgen, la reina de los cielos? Don't they call her that? You guys know they do. And by the way, I remember one brother mentioned that that he says that we are people maybe Judah, right? Well, it's funny because Jeremiah talks about us worshiping the Queen of Heaven in Jeremiah 44. Read the chapter, and it's literally saying Judah is worshiping the Queen of Heaven. So again, I'm not claiming any tribe. I don't believe in a 12 tribe chart. I don't care if I'm Asher. I don't care if I'm Ephraim. I don't care if I'm Issachar. I don't care if I'm Judah. It don't matter to me. There's 12 tribes. We're all one. There's equality. There's no equal but separate with me, man. We're all one tribe. I'm no better than y'all. If anything, man, honestly, with all sincerity, I pray to the Most High God that y'all getting before me, just make sure you leave some space. And I mean that because I've seen destruction in my people that are still suffering, which I've been able to walk away. And it's only fair. Like Lazarus, man. Some of our people, they suffer so much. It only makes sense, man, that they can get some opportunity to hear the word. Let me go. This continues.
This Friday.
This is what happens. Look at that. Anyways, it started with this.
A pope wrote this papal bull. Watch what the writing in it says. It says here, let me start off right over. Let me start off here. It says, not without great offense to God and great reproach to all Christianity, to prevent this and to conserve their rights and possessions. All right. Here, let me start here. It says here, we, therefore, weighing all and singular the premises with due meditation, and nothing that since we had formerly by other letters of our granted, among other things, free and ample faculty of the aforesaid King Alfonso, to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever, and to other enemies of Christ wheresoever placed, and the kingdoms and dukedoms and principalities, dominions, possessions, and all movable and immovable goods whatsoever held and possessed by them, and to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery. This is your loving Catholic Christianity. You so-called Hispanic who loves white Jesus. Look at this. The papal bull authorized them to enslave yo dumbass and to apply and appropriate to himself and his successors the kingdoms, dukes, and counties, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, and to convert them to his and their use and profit. All you are, Hispanic and Native American man or Native Indian man, you're a prophet. That's all you are. Okay? Watch what it says, your principalities, dominions, and possessions, right? When I read that, it actually reminded me of this. Probably some of y'all, if you're in the spirit, you probably know what I'm talking about. Ephesians 6:12. Watch this. It says here, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. You don't think this is a spiritual wickedness in high places? These are dominions, principalities, and powers. These people got authority and power because they've been dealing with Satan, basically. Watch what else. It says here, can be acquired from the hands of infidels or pagans. It says, Let me see. And in the more distant and remote parts can be acquired from the hands of infidels or pagans, and that they are comprehended under the said letter of faculty. What else? I think I saw something that was, let's see. Here goes another part. Oh, here it goes. All right, here it goes right here. This is what is it. All right. So this is the one in 1952. The other one was 1954. So it says here, could be restrained by the faithful of Christ. Okay, let me see. While we turn over in our minds the diverse concerns of the office of apostolic service is entrusted to us, although we do not deserve it. By celestial providence, deserve it. Concerns by which our very day urgently pressed, we are also more by a persistent encouragement. We chiefly carry in our heart that the well-known anxiety that the rage of the enemies of the name of Christ, always aggressive in contempt of orthodox faith, could be restrained by the faithful of Christ and be subjugated to the Christian religion. Subjugated. When the hell did the Bible say that to you, Gentiles? Because that's what your Christianity teaches, right? Christianity teaches that the fake Jews, or the so-called Jews, thus say the Lord, are in Israeli right now. The Christians teach that they are the real Jews of the Bible, and that everyone else are Gentiles. So how in the world would you then go take your religion, your made-up fake religion, and subjugate other nations in the name of Christ when Christ didn't do that to the Gentiles? You see how stupid it is when you really dissect the nonsense in Christianity. Watch what else the papal did to our people. You intend to subjugate the enemies of Christ, namely the Saracens, bring them back with powerful arm to the faith of Christ. Didn't they come in with the cross, if not the sword? We grant you full and free power through the apostolic authority by the edict to invade. Watch this. To invade, conquer, fight, subjugate the Saracens and pagans. They looked at us like pagans, and the other infidels and enemies of Christ. Watch out. And to lead their persons in perpetual servitude. Perpetual servitude. You see that? And to apply an appropriate realm, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, possessions, and goods of this kind to you and your use and your successors of King of Portugal.
Hey guys, I want to mention something. You see the Saracens? Those are Africans. So considering the war that they had up in Europe, I could see why they would do vengeance like this. And then we were basically part of the process. Well, at least in the eyes of them, obviously the manifest destiny and all that. But I just find it interesting. I'm going to dig into that. I'm glad I was able to see this class again. Okay. At least with these eyes now.
You may increase in this undertaking to the power of your virtue. There's more. We grant by the power of your sacrifice a plenary forgiveness of all and individual sins, crimes, trespasses, and degradations which you and they have confessed with contrite heart by mouth to you and to those who accompany you, as often as you and they begin to go into any war against the mentioned infidels. You see that, guys? So every time they go and say, oh, Father, I have sinned, I have raped, I have killed, I have degraded myself because I was in America and I was pushing the cross and my mind was lost. Please forgive me. So they go and say, praise 7 Ave Marias and shit. Excuse my language, my bad. And you should be forgiven. You see, this is exactly what they're saying. They're forgiven for any crime. You lover of the so-called white man. This is what they wrote against our people. Why is that so awkward? Why is that so awkward? You know, it fathoms me that when I bring this information up, right? Oh, by the way, reminds me, I got a message. This brother's over there saying, in regards to, I can yell and scream all I want, but if I'm not adopting or helping my brothers and sisters out, you know, what good does it do? And quite frankly, that's the problem with you brothers and sisters that think that way. You see, you don't see, you think carnally. You think that adopting. You're in the system of the enemy. What? How am I going to help a homeless person? How do you know what kind of homeless person that is? Is he an addict? Is he alcoholic? Does he want to stay out? Does he want help? Or does he just want to live in the street? Some people actually want to live like that. But that's not my point. My point is that some of our brothers and sisters are forgetting who we have to come to in order for us to make our changes in life. Regarding our changes of where? Going back into dominion and power again. We were once leaders of this world. We lost that because we, what? Transgressed against the Most High. We need to change that back. That's why we're doing these classes for you brothers and sisters out there pushing the truth too. All praises to the Most High. Psalms 28. Let me get back to class. Psalms 28, verse 3. It reads, "Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their heart." Now, why do I say that? Because I've already shown to y'all that their intent from the beginning, this is before 1492. So they had already passed laws that were going to put us in slavery. And then we see from the movie or the scene how they knew who we were, and they used the same Bible that we have, that's our book, to find us. And through these papal bulls and these laws, we've been what? Slowly, well, not slowly, I should say, we've been completely destroyed mentally. That's why some of you brothers and sisters are still celebrating 4th of July. But you guys realize that it makes absolutely no sense? Watch this real quick. No, that's not it. I'm looking for. Matter of fact, yeah, let's go to that now. Watch this. I want to share this with y'all. So the so-called white man, right? What they do is they have a very matter of fact, I'll let the Bible speak. I'm gonna go to Psalms 55. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. This is who we're dealing with, brothers. Psalms 55, verse 11. Verse 21, I'm sorry. Verse 21. "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. And his words were softer than oil, yet there were drawn swords. Yet were they drawn swords." You see that? So it says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Did we not see consistently our brothers and sisters going through treaty after treaty being broken? Did our native brothers and sisters not experience that? Right? Did they not resent? Did the so-called white man not resent the land that was being reserved for our native brothers? That did not happen, right? And then after hold on a second. After they take over, right, through the Treaty of Paris, they separate lands. Then they completely take over the whole America, right? And then they create something called the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine. If y'all never heard of it, y'all look it up. Psalms 55:21. "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart." This is what the Monroe Doctrine is about. Watch this. The Monroe Doctrine was the United States foreign policy position to oppose European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere, right? It held that any intervention in the political affairs of America by foreign powers was politically hostile against the acts of U.S. The doctrine was central to U.S. foreign policy much of the 19th and 20th century. President James Monroe first articulated the doctrine December 2, 1823, during his 7th annual State of Union address to Congress. Basically, guys, the Monroe This is what I'm talking about. All right. Supposedly, it was positioned to oppose European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere, right? And it held any intervention in the political affairs, so supposedly, of foreign powers. But watch this. In the words of its mouth were smoother than butter. You see, so it made it seem like, hey, listen, this is all America under this Monroe. We'll protect you, you protect us, right? We won't let no other European countries come over here and try to be hostile against your territories. Yeah, sure. But war was in his heart. Why? Because the Monroe Doctrine was written in 1848. And guess what territories were taken after 1848? 1848, New Territory. Watch. In 1848, with land acquired and subsequently explored, the federal government began to admit new states into the Union. Right? Watch this. Land use gained in the Mexican-American War area, Mexico ceded to the United States in 1848. As soon as the Monroe Doctrine was written, this took over. Then they took over the Philippines, and then they took over Hawaii. A lot happened in 1848.
The Monroe Doctrine was written in 1823. It didn't actually manifest until between 1846 and 1848 when Mexico went to war, or America went to war with Mexico. Okay, as it says it right there. Anyway, just clarify.
And then, right, years later, this is what I'm talking about. That's why it says here, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So you see, their intent was not to help our brothers and sisters. Their intent was to conquer our brothers and sisters. And under this right here, also there's no interventions, right, in the Americas. It also meant that no foreign power can invest in the Americas or Latin America, because that would also seem hostile. So if America, which is what they're doing now to Central and South America, taking all their resources and elements, right? For example, if every foreign company or country tried to help out by investing in that country, America, the white America, would take that as a what? Intervention. I'm telling you guys.
I'm gonna read you guys something real quick. I showed it in the other class, but just in case anybody missed it. Okay. This is my page. You guys are welcome to add me. Then I'll check you guys out and then see if I can approve it. This is from Occupied America, A History of Chicanos, Rodolfo Acuña, 3rd edition. I have the 7th edition as well. The 3rd edition is the most interesting one, I think. Anyways, look what it reads here on page 13. In his Origins of the War with Mexico, Polk, Stockton, intrigued, Glenn W. Price states, Americans have found it rather more difficult than other peoples to deal rationally with their wars. We have thought ourselves as unique and of this society as special planned and create to avoid the errors of all the other nations. Many Anglo-American historians have attempted to dismiss it simply as a bad war which took place during the era of Manifest Destiny. Manifest Destiny has its roots from Puritan ideas, who were black folks, which continue to influence Anglo-American thought to this day. According to the Puritan ethics, and I know it sounds confusing, but only after the Civil War did we actually see them suffer. And I wonder why. There's something called antebellum, meaning prior to the Civil War. If you guys watch that movie Antebellum, what they're showing you is a message between them two talking to each other. And Civil War, they had it real good. Like in this society, kind of like scope, but in that time, they had it real good. Not we. According to the Puritan ethics, salvation is determined by God. The establishment of the city of God on earth is not only the duty of those chosen people, meaning they, the so-called white man and the so-called black man, the Europeans, predestined for salvation, but it also proof of their state of grace. Now, I'm going to say this. The Edomite has that mentality. They did use the so-called black man as assistants in a sense, right? They both help each other. But I have a book that shows that the Carthaginians knew of this land way before. So it's a plan with a well well put together between the two. Anglo-Americans believed that God had made them custodians of democracy and that they had a mission. That is, that they were predestined to spread its principle. As young nations survived its infancy, established its power in defeat of the British War in 1812, expanded westward, and enjoyed both commercial and industrial successes, in its sense of a mission heightened. Many citizens believe that God had destined them to own and occupy all of the land, meaning the Americas, from the ocean to ocean and pole to pole. I told y'all, if it wasn't for the Mexican-American War, they would have ended up owning everything, which technically, in a sense, they do, because they're eating our resources and they have power over the government. But when you talk about them, like let's say they call Mexico and South America America, no. All right, it's government from distance. Their mission, their destiny made manifest, was spread to the principles of democracy and the Christianity and an unfortunates of the hemisphere. I'm sorry, and Christianity to the unfortunates of the hemisphere. By dismissing the war simply as part of the era of manifest destiny, the apologists for the war ignore the consequence of the doctrine. This is the other page. All right, it says invasion of Mexico. In 1840s, Mexico was again the target. Expansion and capitalist development moved together. The two Mexican wars gave U.S. commerce, industry, mining, agricultural, and stock raising a tremendous stimulus. The truth is that by 1840, the Pacific coast belonged to the commercial empire that the United States had already built. Was already building in that ocean. The U.S. population of 17 million European extractions and 3 million slaves was considered largely more than Mexico's 7 million, of which were 4 million Indians and 3 million Mestizo and Europeans. The United States acted arrogantly in foreign affairs, partly because its citizens believed they believed in their own cultural and racial superiority. That's both nations. Are we not getting that now with the one West? Judah, equal but separate. Mexico was plagued with financial problems, internal ethics and conflicts, and poor leadership. General anarchy within the nation conspired against its cohesive development. General anarchy meaning the Sephardic Jews. So you dummies that think you're Sephardic Jews and you're like you have a big nopal in your forehead and you think you don't look like an Indian, homie, you need to look in the mirror. You look more Indian than an Indian can look like, and you even sound like one. So stop trying to be like that. Just tells me that you really don't like who you are. You don't like how you look. That's what it tells me. Anyways, let's continue.
Why are you celebrating 4th of July? Everything that these people have written has been for their benefit, not ours at all. Psalms 28. Now we're going to go to it. Psalms 28, verse 3. Draw me not away with the wicked. Who are the wicked? The enemies, brothers and sisters, and the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbor, but mischief is in their heart. Isn't that what they've done? They spoke peace to our brothers and sisters, right? Oh, hey, Peruvians, Guatemalans, Colombians, sign this treaty, sign this doctrine. We'll protect each other in the Americas. When in reality, all the white man wanted was to what? Obtain more land. That was really it. Y'all need to read this particular Monroe Doctrine, okay? It's very important. And there's another thing. You see, so they always claim, and this is what I'm telling you guys. You guys, you so-called Hispanic, right? So-called Mexican, for example. Y'all don't believe that the so-called white man has done anything to our people. That all of it has been in our hands, and it's just that we just have a bunch of lazy Mexicans that don't want to improve.
Hey guys, and I'm telling you that in Mexico, that happens often. It happens often. I'm gonna play a video before we finish this of colorism. Okay. Matter of fact, the video is gonna end, so I'm gonna play that colorism video. I'll look for it while we're talking, and then I'll play the actual song to end it all up. Okay, listen. This video is very interesting. It's from an actor. He's actually the one that's acting in what's that movie called? Black Panther. Yeah, Black Panther. Whatever. All right, and he talks about colorism. All right, so let's go, and it's in Spanish, so bear with me, but it is what it is, man. This is his so-called Hispanic and Native Indian channel, meaning we're gonna speak Spanish in this channel, and we're gonna speak English too, and we're gonna speak Spanglish if needed. All right, let's go.
But in reality, have you guys ever heard of this? The Treaty of Bucareli between Mexico and the United States. Some people say that this isn't true. But you want to know something? Y'all come up with your own conclusion. Because it really seems very strange to me once I started digging deep into these particulars that I noticed within myself. Why? My questions were why? Why? We had so great talent in Mexico. Why were we not improving in certain ways? Watch what it says here. The oil industry in Mexico is recognized worldwide as one of the most important among the producing countries. Our mineral oil is an excellent class, and currently the companies that have invested their capital in Mexico have not yet obtained all the margin of importance that their business can give. Watch this real quick. The Bucharest Treaty, what exactly was it? Right? So you guys can read this article right here. It's from CNDH, right? CNDH Mexico. You can see it, El Trato de Bucareli entre Mexico y Estados Unidos. Watch this real quick. There were particular things that happened. The oil that was being provided by Mexico was then now going to be kept in Mexico, all their profits. America didn't like that. So because they had investments here in Mexico or there in Mexico, right, they felt that they were left out because of the particular law that was passed. The article, I guess, 27, if I'm not mistaken. So watch what the white man wanted from the so-called Hispanic, Mexican government. It says here, within the treaty, the following was agreed. Agricultural properties expropriated from the U.S. citizens of less than 1755 hectares acres would be paid with bonds. For property that exceeded this extension, the payment would be immediate and in cash. A commission will be integrated in charge of reviewing the pending claims from 1868 that caused by the revolution would be resolved separately. With regards to oil, Article 27 was not retroactive for Americans who had acquired their concession before 1917, which allowed them to continue exploiting the hydrocarbon. Okay, so as you can see, the America, right, white America had really forced Mexico into this particular agreement. Supposedly, they were affected by it, right? There was a political agenda behind it, but what's the real truth about on all this, right? Let's see here. Watch what they technically wanted our people not to deal with. It's right here. In addition to the privileged compensation for its businessmen, the United States within the same treaty requested the abolition of Article 27 of the Mexican political constitution, which established the economic sovereignty and stewardship of the states, established the original property of the nation on the ground and subsoil and coastlines, the ability to impose modalities and private properties and basis for expropriation, before which the U.S. argued that it was not retroactive for American oil companies. In the field of education, access to science, technology, and industry was prohibited for children and young people. Mexico found it necessary to lower the quality of basic and higher education, intentionally making it mediocre. You guys hear that? Mediocre. However, y'all can read this later. All right? So you can see these things did happen. Now, what else is true? The deconstruction of deconstructing Mexico. Watch this. This is Robert Lansing. This is in the deconstructing Mexico.blogsports. It says, here, I'll read it. You're going to see it. And you can look it up. This is very true. Robert Lansing, the former Secretary of State under Woodrow Wilson, wrote in 1924 that Mexico is an extraordinary easy country to dominate, and as it necessary to control only one man, the president. We must abandon the idea of installing an American citizen in the Mexican presidency, as that would only lead us once again to war. The solution requires more time. We must open the doors to our universities to young, ambitious Mexicans and make the effort to educate them in the American.
See, what this is showing about our people, brothers and sisters, is that we have a very strong mindset. And you know what? I two sports I played, soccer and boxing, right? And you can see that in boxing, we really show our spirit regarding the so-called Mexicans. Like, they're probably one of the better fighters in the world, right? We have obviously competition, but it just tells you about the spirit. We're not muscular, we're not big, but we can fight against somebody that's muscular and big, and guess what? Still beat them because of the ganas. You know what I'm saying? So anyhow, let me continue.
Way of life, in our values, assimilation, and in respect to the leadership of the United States, meaning what? In favor to the Americans. Mexico will need competent administrators, and over time, the young people will come to occupy important positions and will eventually take position of presidency itself. And without the United States having to spend a single cent or fire a single shot, they will do what we want and do it better and more radically than we ourselves would have done. Wow. Watch this. You see a lot of these presidents, Felipe Calderón, right? President Fox, Carlos Salinas, Ernesto Cedillo. All of these guys studied what they say abroad, right? In Mexico. This is completely. And you brothers and sisters that really think that the white man doesn't have their hand in the cookie jar of Mexico is completely dumb. With all due respect. Because y'all can find this information. And this information is not new. This information is available to us, for us to study in order to what? To have a better mindset and know who we're dealing with. At the end of the day, some of y'all don't realize it, but we're really, really captive till this very day. We truly are. Watch this real quick. Remember the video we saw earlier regarding the actual reason why the American Revolution became the reason what became was because of several reasons, but one of them was major taxes, right? Taxes. Baruch 3 and 8. It reads, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us, for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God." You see, so-called Israelite, you so-called Hispanic, Native Indian, we are still in our captivity to this very day. Okay? To this very day, we are still in our captivity. I'm going to continue with part 2 of this class because I need to make sure that I have thorough information, because I have some information that I want to share with y'all brothers and sisters. In the meantime, shalom, most high Christ bless. Lord willing, y'all are edified. Lord willing, I can come to y'all with another video again and again. Shalom.
All right, so I found the video. Here it goes right here. Give me a second. I'll see if I can skip some sections, okay? All right. Here we go. Computer's moving slow. I think I need a new one.
Afortunadamente, yo entré al cine en un momento en que las historias que se contaban cambiaron. Y tal cual, apenas abrieron la puerta, apenas se abrió tantito la puerta, metí el pie y después metí el codo y abrí la puerta con todo y me metí y ahora nadie me saca. Podría decir que es más fácil hablar de política, religión y fútbol en México que hablar de racismo. La magia del racismo y del clasismo en México es que no lo vemos, ni siquiera lo notamos. Y cuando alguien nos lo señala, nos ofendemos y nos enojamos de que nos llamen racistas o clasistas. Lo pude asimilar completamente y dimensionar cuando me volví actor y cuando la carrera de actuación me puso en otro nivel, con un contacto más cercano con gente de otro nivel económico, de otro origen racial, de otro origen étnico, es cuando pude entender las diferencias.
Did you hear what he said? Otro origen racial. You see, he understood that these Sephardic Jews who run the movie, the power, the media in Mexico, they're the ones that allow these things. Watch this. All right, here it goes.
referencias. Yo me crié entre Catepec y Coacalco y pues conozco la fondita de la esquina, pero más allá de eso, pues la neta no conozco nada, ¿no? Es un mundo que me era totalmente ajeno. Y pues mis referencias eran otras. Mi referencia era subirme al cerro, ¿no? Echar coto con mis compas. Mis referencias era que mi vecino era secuestrador, ¿no? Es otro mundo. Entonces, llegar a este universo donde eres totalmente ajeno, donde no entiendes nada, o sea, no solamente es llegar y tener el trabajo, es que es también llegar y pertenecer y entrar a este grupo de personas.
Let me fast forward it real quick. Hold up. Here goes.
Tienes que brincar más alto, tienes que correr más rápido y tienes que ser Torres Torija, que fue. A mí mi maestro me dio uno de los mejores consejos que me han podido dar. Se llama Carlos Torres Torija, que fue quien me formó. Tienes que brincar más alto, tienes que correr más rápido y tienes que ser más fuerte que todos para poder llegar. Tienes que estudiar más, tienes que leer más, tienes que saber más, tienes que cuestionarte más, tienes que darle la vuelta a las cosas 10,000 veces más que los demás para poder llegar.
Hey, brothers, and that's the scriptures right there. Listen to what he says. This is a true Hebrew right here, man. You dig deep in your soul and you find out who you are according to the Bible. He's using the spiritual aspect of him to find who he is. Yes, remember, wisdom walketh with you, man, in crooked ways until it's time for you to really walk in the laws. All right. So don't think that that it's not possible. How the hell do you guys think we got here to this point? You guys were doing something right, at least some parts, not everything. Wisdom was walking with you in crooked ways.
Más rápido y tienes que ser más fuerte que todos para poder llegar. Tienes que estudiar más, tienes que leer más, tienes que saber más, tienes que cuestionarte más, tienes que darle la vuelta a las cosas 10,000 veces más que los demás para poder llegar. Sí, sin duda, de los pocos actores que tienen, siempre me llamaba para hacer. Alguna vez yo le pregunté a un muy querido amigo que trabajaba en una castinera, ¿por qué siempre me llamaba para hacer el casting de jodido, sufridor y de ratero? Yo le dije, siempre me estás llamando para esto y te aseguro que soy de los pocos actores que tienen 2 carreras. Yo tengo la carrera de periodismo de la UNAM y además la carrera como actor, ¿no? Que es más un oficio que una carrera, pero bueno, en fin. Le digo, tengo esta formación y ¿por qué siempre me llamas para hacer esto? Y me dijo, pues porque es lo que te piden, es porque eres moreno. Esa fue su respuesta, es porque eres moreno.
You guys hear that? Es porque eres moreno. Es porque eres negro. It's because you're black. Do you know what I mean? Like, people, wake up, man. I'm telling you, wake up. There's people in Mexico that are not your people. So right now, it's the time to start separation, knowing who we are. Because they'll wear the shirt, they'll sound so-called Mexicans or Peruvians or Cubans and all Cubans, Puerto Ricans, like, yeah. And then at the end of the day, they're not our people. Mm-hmm.
Para hacer esto. Y me dijo, pues porque es lo que te piden, es porque eres moreno. Esa fue su respuesta, es porque eres moreno. Y yo me quedé de una sola pieza y le dije, bueno, tú no me puedes decir esto, cabrón, tú eres mi amigo, o sea, no me puedes tratar así. Me dijo, es que como soy tu amigo te lo estoy diciendo. ¿Sabes cuántas veces te he propuesto para que seas el chavito fresa? ¿Sabes cuántas veces te he propuesto para que seas el universitario? ¿Sabes cuántas veces te he propuesto para que seas el junior? Miles, güey, miles de veces te he propuesto. Pero me dicen, híjole, no, es que se ve muy mexicano, para no decir está muy prieto, ¿no?
And don't they say that about us? Unlike some that say, oh, I don't look Mexican. You know what I mean? Anyhow, man, it's inside joke.
Y me decía también, ¿sabes cuántas veces he propuesto a actrices o actores de piel blanca para que sean el del barrio, para que sean el ratero, para que sean el violador, para que sean el pederasta? Miles. Y me dicen, no te da la idea de que se ve muy, muy bien, como muy fresita. Y me quedé con la boca abierta.
Los atributos negativos. El racismo ya como un discurso, ya como una ideología, funciona en México a partir del siglo XVIII, dándole todos los atributos negativos a las personas de la raza que en ese entonces decían negroide, o de las razas que decían indígenas, ¿no? o de América. Entonces se empieza a hacer toda una ideología que lo que hace es justificar que hay razas inferiores y que por eso hay que someterlas.
You guys see that? The majority of our people are like, no, 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 I look more like these guys over here, the pink race. The pink race. They look more like the pink race, right? Like, no, look at me, man. Look, I'm more Spaniard. We hear that all the time, bro.
No hay nada peor que puedas hacer aquí en México que gritarle a alguien en la calle indio. Si vas en la calle y tú le dices a un microbusero, a un transeúnte, a una persona que está trabajando, a un oficinista, quien sea, tú dile indio y vas a ver cómo se enoja.
Llamo a migración, eres de Honduras, ¿no?
¿Y qué?
Sí, eres de Honduras, no vengas aquí a ponerte cabrón.
De donde
en
venga,
mi país.
no me faltes el
¿Sí?
respeto.
No vengas a mi país a faltarme el respeto y a faltarle el respeto a los usuarios, llevándote el cable ratero. ¿Sí? Grábale bien, porque eso es lo que voy a pedir de evidencia, ingenierito. ¿Eh? ¿Qué más? Pregúntale cuántos eres instituido, ¿eh?
Eres racista.
No, no soy racista. Tú eres un cojete porque vienes a trabajar en mi país.
Pásale.
Okay.
¿Quién compró su boleto? ¿Quién compró tu boleto? ¿Cuánto le costó? ¿Cuánto le costó la entrada? 34.
Y apúrate, gorda. Pinche gorda de mierda.
Bueno, señora, usted se puede quedar donde usted quiera. No la pueden sacar. Es discriminación. Y por eso son los derechos humanos.
¡Pinche puto de mierda! ¡Chinga tu madre, pinche asalariado de mierda! Como ustedes, este puto país no está cargando la verga, cabrón. ¡Y súbelo con López Dóriga!
You see how he said ustedes, meaning our indigenous people. It's time that we start waking up. You so-called Hispanic and you so-called Native Indian of indigenous descent, not these damn Sephardic Jews or these Europeans of God knows where.
Raciales entre las personas. México, ¿qué tiene? México es un país que tiene una relación muy difícil con el racismo, porque México, en primer lugar, hay que asentar que las razas no existen, y el racismo sí. El racismo es la construcción equivocada de que existen diferencias raciales entre las personas, y que esas diferencias raciales importan para el acceso a los derechos, que importan en términos del valor de una persona, que importan en términos de la capacidad de una persona o de un grupo de personas.
Hey, you know what the mindset is of the so-called Hispanic, right? When you see a light-skinned girl like that, you're like, oh, you see, we're not all dark, man. See, we're not all dark. We have light skin. Look, they have blonde hair and they have blue eyes. Like, that's how destroyed we are. Oh, no, man. I'm a Sephardic Jew because I'm a / Navajo or something.
Importan para el acceso a los derechos, que importan en términos del valor de una persona, que importan en términos de la capacidad de una persona o de un grupo de personas de contribuir a la sociedad. Ahí se anida el racismo, en esa idea de que el tono de piel, el fenotipo, la pertenencia étnica, todos estos elementos que componen lo que a veces se expresa equivocadamente como raza, son importantes para determinar el valor y los derechos de una persona.
Cada vez que hablo del racismo o del clasismo, lo que siempre me sacan es eres un resentido, ya vas a llorar, yo también soy moreno y gano dinero. Es que no es así. Es un sistema construido alrededor del color de la piel, del origen económico.
What he means is that the color, your skin tone, is attached to economic stability or financial, quote unquote, fortitude, I guess. I don't know, man. Like basically, your color depends on how much money you make in Mexico. The lighter skin you are, the more money you make, the better jobs you get. The darker skin you are, guess what? You're SOL. And that's why we see a lot of white gente coming this way. So there is racism in Mexico. It's classism, racism, man. And it's because of the other nations that are still there dealing with our people. All right.
Por ahí algún director inteligente te va a meter los últimos 5 minutos del partido, pero te tienes que preparar para que cuando te metan esos 5 minutos hagas un pinche golazo que se caiga el estadio. Hubo directores que me empezaron a meter y pues cada oportunidad que tengo frente al balón trato de meter un golazo.
Hey, brethren, we have a rich culture. Now we just need our book back. That's all. All right. So I'm gonna leave y'all with this song. And again, man, I don't agree with everything that these young men are saying, but I do like the message in general. Okay. So bear with me. I'm not condoning specifically certain words that he
Save
uses,
$60.
but I'd like the overall message because it's basically brotherhood. Okay. And you know me, man. The reason I also promote Spanish music is because we have a plethora of Spanish music, whether it's rap or reggae or Spanish rock or baladas, whatever, man. We don't have to deal with all these other nations with their stupid music about booty and money and hoes and crap. Nah, man. There's other stuff out there. Okay. So this group is called. I like these guys. Purenega and then Rasta Chai. Here, I'll show it real quick. I'll play it for a little bit and then I'm gonna move it. All right. You guys, oh, my bad. Shalom. Shalom, man. Shalom. Bless you and your families. And I'll definitely put some prayers out for all the whole nation. And then we'll see each other again. Okay. So shalom. Peace and blessings.
International burning in Selassie I every day and every night. Yeah man, llevamos 30 volúmenes dando reggae music soul. And keep on, motherfucking king of the microphone. Check it on, desde el corazón, though.
Llega el sonido de ultratumba, tienen miedo, llegan los rastas con su rumba. Díceselo, la people se hace una pregunta: ¿quién es mejor? Ni tú ni yo, ese es el lema de Kio. Llega el sonido de ultratumba, tienen miedo, llegan los rastas con su rumba. Díceselo, la people se hace una pregunta: ¿quién es mejor? Ni tú ni yo, ese es el lema de Kio.
Veo la luz que ilumina mi vida y da amor a los que más quiero. Siento el mensaje que llega hacia mi corazón, me habla el universo. Veo personas que pasan de largo en mi vida y en verdad eso es bueno, porque ahora sé lo que tengo y lo que ya no pierdo. Demasiada coincidencia para no ser verdad. Los de que nos van a esperar en el más allá. Tú vas a seguir siguiendo el curso en la espiral, mientras que yo evoluciono, llego al despertar. Fuente celestial, de luz y el saber. No hay punto final, amar o aprender. Que yo no quiero obedecerte, ya sé lo que hacer. Cuando me muero de calor, de frío, de hambre o sed, ya solo pienso en ser aquel que siempre fui, pero por miedo que mostraba otra versión de mí. Antes solía llorar, ahora no sé reír. Si no ponemos de por medio un poquito de weed, eso más de estar bien, más efecto de pill. No quiero ser tu fe, te necesito a ti. Ángeles con la fe, mándalos de la street. Si vinimos de pa' morir, chicos.
This is the Flow Underground from Kiuni Studio. Relax, relax, relax. The Flow Alarm. This is the music at the air. Mucho tiempo dando amor a los nuestros. Ese Steve, nigga, bomba.
Oh, tell them.
camino de frente, traigo flow caliente, música real con sonido inteligente. Parece frecuente desvestir la mente y quedar desnudo delante de mi gente. Flow, sing it, dem, duro like metal. Slow, sing it, guay, like fenomenal. Flow, sing it, dem, duro like metal. Slow. Cada palabra y balada que parte la sala, para nada son bobadas atrapadas en miradas. Pues mi familia es sagrada, aprenderá toda la grada. Camaradas y alabada la persona que te daba su calor, su sabor, el perfume del honor. Coreando la canción de un humilde servidor. Pues tu amor, seguidor, es alivio para el dolor y energía para seguir siendo tu compositor. Flow. Llega el sonido de ultratumba, tienen miedo, llegan los rastas con su rumba. Díceselo, la people se hace una pregunta: ¿quién es mejor? Ni tú ni yo, ese es el lema de Kio. Llega el sonido de ultratumba, tienen miedo, llegan los rastas con su rumba. Díceselo, la people se hace una pregunta: ¿quién es mejor? Ni tú ni yo, ese es el lema de Kio. Jaman regenerality. It's a my personal revenge and the ganja from the Rastafari niggas. So. Jaman real. Llega el sonido contra. Llegando rasta con su. La people se hace una pregunta. Bomba clap them. Nigga.
Real quick, I like this song because it says, ¿quién es mejor? Ni tú ni yo. That's how it's supposed to be. There's no superiority in tribes, man. We're all equal. We're all here to help each other out. We went into slavery together. We're going to get out of this together. Shalom. Love y'all, man. Take care.